Well, we meet again. Good morning, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? Hopefully it's not too much light. Let me kill a little light back there. Okie doke. So, a boring Saturday with no football, but we'll make do. We got tomorrow. There's always YouTube games you can watch, old Rose Bowls and everything. All right, let's go to the Lions. We'll start with our football, as we always do. So it looks like Mahomes is playing. Not a doubt. We knew he would. I don't get the whole big thing. Let's see what the line is. So we've got Philadelphia, 2.5, 46.5, which hasn't really moved. And we got KC, 1.5, 48.5. So Mahomes is playing. It's going up. When he was out, it made no sense that it didn't drop from 47. Philly, 2.5. I see a 3. I see 2.5. Or if you want Philly, you get 3.5. And then I see 46.5, so 46, another 46. So there's, 10 casinos on here. So it's mostly 46.5. And then we've got, let's see, KC, 1.5, 1.5. There's 1, 2. There's 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. There's a 1 and a 1.5. So it's mostly 1.5s would be our consensus, and our total 48s, 48s, 48.5, 47.5, 48. So when we went into matchups for, let's see, if we look at injuries, Travis Kelce was a full person. So he's questionable with the back, but he practiced. So I don't really understand. We know he's playing. Very strange. That's a late one. I'm not seeing Travis Kelce. I don't even see Mahomes on here. Well, we know he's got a hurt ankle, so he can do whatever he wants. You can't hide it. We all saw it. Cincinnati's very healthy. I mean, the guard and the tackle are still out. So nothing new. And again, I heard some idiot on the radio saying, the line's out. And then the other guy says, yeah, that really bothered him last week. See, the trouble with listening to idiots is they can say anything they want. Hey, Eric. Oh, not much. Just looking at football, and then we'll get into some other stuff, gold poker, whatever you want. We're women. Wherever it leads us, whatever the family wants to talk about, we'll talk about. So again, they go back to the line, or it's Purdy, it's his first playoff game on the road. Like, no, I mean, come on, man. He plays at Iowa State for 4 years. You don't think he played at Oklahoma or at Texas or at Oak State or at Baylor or at TCU or at Kansas State? Every game was a home game at Iowa State. I mean, these people are so fucking stupid. It really blows my mind. And they're on the radio and they talk like they know something. And I just like change the channel. It's like, what a bunch of idiots. They try to talk you into making the bet. So if at BetMGM, if they need money on, Kansas City, they'll talk down Cincinnati or vice versa, or over or under. But they're really, you got to stay away from them and be very careful. Because the thing I don't want is them to influence you. I don't want anybody to influence you. That's why I'm teaching you. So you know what's going on. You know what to look for. You know what to listen to. And you make the pick. Now, that's exactly what I do. I don't get influenced. I locked Cincinnati with San Francisco last week. Everybody was on Dallas and Buffalo. I stick to my guns because I know why I make the bet, and the game wins. And that's really that's why you got to tone all that shit out. Maybe you get some injury news, if something new, all right, I'll listen for that. But basically, I don't want to hear their picks. I don't want to hear anybody's picks. I don't want to hear picks here because I don't want it to influence the rest of the family. And unless you can give me a reason why, I don't want to hear it. If I took KC and somebody like Jacksonville, I don't really want to hear it. But I will go through the game. So like I say, Frisco, very strong dog, 10-0 as a road dog, 16-3 overall. And so that's a trend. And then you just have the big defense. And then you have Jalen Hurts, it's his first championship game. Nobody's bringing that up. Who knows? He's still hurt. He's got an injured shoulder. It's like Von Miller. Nobody cared about Von Miller. That's what you need to look at. So everybody's injured, but basically Frisco's got the weapons. They both have strong defenses. So I like the dog and I like the under in the game. Philly doesn't. They're not a great home favorite. They're pretty strong. I think they're 15-3 against in a teaser this year. And they lost they covered against Dallas. The game they didn't cover was New Orleans, and then they didn't cover I think the last week. Or was that the New Orleans? Yeah, no, the last week. That was week 17. I don't know where week 18 is. Anyway, where's my week 18? Oh, they beat the Giants. That's right. They didn't cover against the Giants. They won 22-16. Laying like 16 points. So recently they didn't cover two of them. So anyway, so that's what I like there. And then Cincinnati KC. I'm all on Cincinnati. I know Mahomes is hurt. I mean, he's still hurt. He's not going to be better. Cincinnati's 15-0 as a dog. They're 15-2 as a road dog and 15-3 in the they're 15-3 overall. They're 10-0 as a dog this year. 15-2 as a road dog over a couple of years, and play against Kansas City as a home favorite. It's 8-0, and then it goes to 15-5. So it's all very much bet against Kansas City, who doesn't normally cover, and then it's bet Cincinnati as a strong dog. So I like the dog in the game. Burrow against like that. So again, it's the either back to a 1.5 point dog, so they get 7.5. And off you go. Anyway, so that's really a quick look at football. There's just the two games, and they're tomorrow. The line really moved a lot on the Cincinnati. Philly hasn't moved. I would bet tomorrow Philly goes to -3. We'll have to look at the weather. Now, it snowed here again last night, and it's cold here. So I'm looking going, well, if that happens in Philly, I got the under, so I'm not too worried. And then if it gets Kansas City is west of us, so I don't know what I'll see there, but we'll see from there. Anyway, so after the gold and silver videos I shared with you, where Russia's now doing a physical exchange, pricing it in physical instead of the paper derivative COMEX, I'm expecting gold and silver to go up. And then if they're valuing silver in gold, so as gold moves, silver moves with it. And we know gold's going to move. I went and I bought 20 ounces of silver, the Liberties, the bullions at $27.10 an ounce, which I still marvel. He still has them, and and he's got all the others. Bobby would love it. He's got a lot of different countries. But basically, it's still $27. I bought 20 of them. So $540 later, I get 20 20 more ounces of silver. I'm up to 450 now. And it's really, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, even if, so scenario A, nothing happens. I'm out of my mind. Silver doesn't go up. JP Morgan keeps the monopoly fixed, or they're calling it a cartel, I guess. So they keep the price down. And then, okay, didn't make any money. I go to the coin plaza. Here's 40 ounces of silver. Give me back my $26, $27 an ounce. And I kind of break even. Inflation stops and the money doesn't go away. Now, the odds of that happening are about the same as the Lions winning a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. Inflation doesn't go away. Silver will go up because we all know it's being held down, and then gold's going to go up because that's being held down, and it's a worldwide thing. And again, the people with the gold, the Russians and the Chinese, want it to go up, so they're going to make it go. And that's just what happens. For you, Bobby, here is the Austrian tonic. So here's the front side of it. And here's the back side. Now, if you look at the back side, notice it says it's 100 euros. This is worth 100 euros. Now, of course, in gold terms, it's worth $2,000. Oh, no, this is a half ounce. I'm sorry. This I paid $1,100 for yesterday. So it's 100 ounces. It's a nice looking, this is, their big opera, their big music, the Sound of Music was there and everything. You can see it's 1 ounce gold. Well, it's in Austrian. 1 Jersey is an ounce of gold, 9,999. So you can see it is. But this is one for your silver, Bobby. So take a look at that. What else? So I'm surprised it's still there, but I think after the Super Bowl we'll see some major moves, like they did with China yesterday, where they went with China and they left. China bought all gold, and what was I going to say? So China wants to come out with the exchange, and I think that's what, since they got all the gold in Russia, they want the gold to move. Anyway, so that's what we see. War in the Ukraine, I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know why they're fighting it, but I was watching this really disturbing movie yesterday. It's a new one on Netflix, and it was like some Germans needed the iron ore to make tanks and planes and all their stuff, and Norway was neutral, and the Germans were kind of coming for the iron ore, and then the British and the French were helping protect Norway. And it was kind of scary in the fact of what happened, right? All of a sudden the Germans come in, all of a sudden you can't leave, all of a sudden, you're prisoners in your city, and then they go to war, and then the Brits and the French helped the Norwegians fight a little of the Norwegian, but it was like the Germans coming in and take control of the city. And that's, I thought, well, here we go. This is what's going to happen now. I mean, it's really weird the way that is. So I'm kind of relating on, God, I hope that I can see that happening here, but I hope it doesn't. And then my girlfriend in the Ukraine, I can see they're firing on her. And at the end of the movie, Norway actually takes their city back with the help of the French. And the Germans move out. Hitler's first loss in World War II to a neutral country over iron ore of everything. And then the Germans bombed the city. And the planes come and they just level the city. And, oh, we lost. Well, this is how we take losing. And that's what they're doing in the Ukraine right now. Russia's just, they're not flying over. They're just shooting missiles at all these cities that make no sense, just to shoot them, which is what Hitler did. He just bombed them. Okay, we can't win, and then we're going to bomb your city and destroy it. And that's basically what he did. So a lot of malaria. Anyway, she's okay. I just say, just text me so I know you're still okay, and she does. And I think our vision of the war versus her vision of the war are different. Like, we think it's World War II. And, when you hear the stories, it's like, oh, 5 people were killed with this bomb hitting. And it's like, yeah, we get that many people killed getting in car accidents. So I don't know that, 5 people dead. It's probably not, it's terrible, but it's probably not the same. I don't know. It's hard to correlate being here and not there, but I don't think it's as like World War II where there's constant, fighting back and forth. We'll see. I don't know. They show the parts of the war, but I don't know the civilian part of it. I know there is some underground they can hide in, subway stations and the like, but I don't know it's in her city if there's tunnels. I know in like Kiev they're hiding in the subways. So when they bomb, they're down in they're fine there. Anyway, what else? So we talk a lot about monopolies and competition. Basically how, so I'm in the hot tub yesterday talking to this lady about, I don't know what we were talking about. We were talking about different things. So I got into talking to her. She was older, about girls. I says, because I'll talk to a girl and she'll say, oh, I have a boyfriend. And I said to her, but it's like economics. Like, do you eat at one restaurant or do you eat at 20 restaurants? And if you eat it, and then you go and you choose your best one. And I said, why don't girls meet 20 guys and then go, oh, this is the guy I want? And I always get the feeling like they're so happy that there's one guy for them that they, if you walk up to them, they don't give you a chance because they're with the one and they're afraid if they lose the one, they're going to be alone. Like, they have no confidence. And that's kind of my view. But it should be like competition where or the girls going to, same thing for us. You got one girl, but that's why I have multiple, because let them compete. Let me see who I want. Just like the restaurants or whatever. I'll fly back to Europe soon, and it's the same thing. What country do I want? What city do I want to stay at? You don't just go to the same place all the time. So that's we had that little conversation, and then I'm explaining gold a little bit better about the monopoly. So I have 2 theories on gold. One, people don't know what's going on, see the price doesn't move and go, well, it's a bad investment. They don't even understand it's a security from the money dropping. So they said, well, why would I go? And I'll go into Bitcoin. At least it goes up. Gold doesn't go up. So I won't invest. Or 2, they know JP Morgan has the monopoly, price fixes it, and it won't go up because JP Morgan won't allow it. So those are the 2 different scenarios I see with gold, why people don't buy it, right? Well, what's the point? It's not going to go up. And they miss the point that it's insurance against the dollar going down. And that's the other thing, is they can't understand that either. They don't understand the dollar losing value. And how do you explain that to people? Because they can't see it. You can kind of point it in, like when they do gross revenue for movies, and Star Wars grossed $1 million, but then they say, but if we include for inflation from 76, it was $1 billion. And that's the value of the dollar going down. That's what the inflation means. And Otherwise, people don't see it. They get up, you give them $100 bill, they think it's 100, they think it's worth 100. They don't realize they can't buy what they could with the 120 years ago, that they can only, whatever they buy $100, just give me the 100, and they don't know it's like a 50 now. I try to explain it in gold. Well, it's 35 an ounce. It's now 2,000 an ounce. And this is a half ounce of gold. So this is still a half ounce. No, this is an ounce. I'm sorry. This is an ounce of gold. I bought a half ounce yesterday, but for Bobby, I wanted to show him this Philharmonic. So it says Philharmonic on it. But this is an ounce of gold. So it was $35 for an ounce. Now it's $2,100 for the same ounce. Well, why? It's the same ounce. Why? But it's the dollar that's being devalued. But how do you explain that to people? They don't really get it. They don't really get on inflation is you're printing too much money and it loses its value. And I guess the closest you can compare it to is a car that depreciates to zero. So you can buy a $100,000 Mercedes and it eventually will go to zero. You wear it out. And as we know for cars, you pay $100,000 for it. You drive it off the lot, it's worth 99. As you add miles to it, you wear out the engine and the trans and the lights and the tires and the brakes. You replace, and then the value now it's worth 75,000. It's got 60,000 miles on it, and the more you drive it, the more you wear it out, the less it's worth, and eventually it goes very close to zero. And what they do is they then fix it. I'll put a new engine in and a new trans to kind of fix it. But you're basically watching it lose value because you're using it. And in the dollar, it's very much the same thing. It's being used and depreciated. And eventually the dollar isn't worth $1 anymore. It's worth 5 cents, which is what's happening now. But very hard to explain. Most people won't understand it. They don't understand inflation because they try to hide it, right? So this is when the scammers come out and they go, oh, well, inflation is price increases, and we measure it year over year, which I don't believe is the right way to measure it. You have to take something solid, and the only thing is gold, but it's manipulated. So if gold wasn't manipulated, let's say this was $15,000 last year, and now it's $25,000, you could measure the inflation with the gold, right? It was 15, now it's costing 25. It's still an ounce of gold. This hasn't changed. And that's kind of how you can do it, but you can't really do it. How do you really show the dollar deteriorate? What against what? Like I said, you can't really use prices. Look at Toyota, the Camry example. I go get my oil changed. I paid $22,000 for a 2018 Camry. Hell, I paid $19,000 for a 2003 Camry. I had that for 15 years. Then it's 22,000. I think it was 17,000, and then it went to 22. So maybe you could measure the inflation there. And then you go to now it's 30, but it's over market. So they're lowering the price. Does that mean inflation went away? No, it just means they priced it too high in the market and the market won't pay. And then it goes down. So there's so many variables. It's worse than football, right? Why did the price go up? Did it go up because of inflation? Did it go up because of demand? And that's where gold should be through the roof, because the demand for gold is very, very high from all these countries who realize, and central banks who realize, they understand the inflation. They realize the paper fiat government currency is worthless and getting worse and worse. And they realize the only way to have value is go to gold and silver. Because even if they come out with new money, if they don't back it by gold, it's worthless. Even though they'll say, hey, we're changing our money like Euro and Japan in 2024. We're changing our money over, which is really spooky, as they knew inflation was coming because they planned for it. And then they designed their bills, which they're going to roll out in 2024 as new bills, because these old ones are worthless. So you gotta realize that. So had gold and not been price fixed, it would have been way much, way higher. So in effect, we thank JP Morgan for price fixing the monopoly because we can still afford it. And now we're like, okay, JP Morgan, that's enough. Now let the price go up. And even JP Morgan owns 300 tons of gold and a shitload of silver. So it's not like they're completely stupid. They make money on these transactions when they short it and buy it and short it and buy it, all these little derivatives. They're making a lot of money on it, which is why they do it. But they would make a lot more money if they just let gold run, because you got a ton of gold. It's 32,000 ounces. It's funny, in Money Heist, they took 90 tons of gold. It's not even close. No, did they take 90 tons? Maybe he took 90 tons. I was going to say, is it 90 ounces? But it had to be 90 tons because he's got the big bars. So he's got 32,000 ounces in each ton. So Professor took 90,000 tons. I'll rewatch it, but I think it's 90 tons. I don't think it was 90 ounces because they weren't ounces, they're bars. Yeah, so he took 90 tons, and that's nothing. I mean, JP Morgan owns 300 tons. So you can see they're smart enough to buy it. And if you don't know really what's going on, but you see all the banks buying it, and you realize the banks run the world, they run all the governments and, the laws and everything else. If you see them buying it, you should buy it because they're doing it. Not like, it's a little like football. If everybody's betting Kansas City, maybe you'll bet KC. That's the fallacy, is you go, oh, they must know something, and they don't know anything. Nobody really knows the outcome. I have a very good idea because I look at several variables that keep coming through, like I did, like San Francisco last week. We're betting against Prescott. We're betting on their defense. And so you had some things. It wasn't for sure, but it did come in and we did win. But, that's all we can do is say, based on X, Y, and Z, this is what's happening. Based on the banks buying all this gold, all the central banks in the whole world, Russia, China, India, and all of Europe and all of Asia buying gold, their central banks holding gold. Well, why, if it's worthless, would they buy it? Because they know it's going to go up in value, and they know it's the only thing, because they realize all this is government printed money, and it's basically worthless, basically paper. And they realize that it's losing value very badly. Then you add this high interest rates by the U.S., and it's killing all of Europe. And so it's time for, this is part of the reset, is to reset the price of gold and silver, reset the money. So now the money's backed by gold. They'll say digital currency, but they're so far away, and there's really no way it's going to work. Look at crypto. Does everybody own crypto? No. Does everybody accept it? No. You want to go buy a car with crypto? You're not doing it. So with crypto, it's not money and it's not gold, and not everybody wants it and not everybody owns it. You think that everybody's going to run to digital? So that's not going to happen. It'll be a parallel value, I guess. So if the dollar's $100, will be whatever the digital, but I want gold and silver, and I need paper because, so let's say we go to the casino and we play poker. What are we going to play with, right? Don't we need money? So if we buy, so we go to the casino. So help me walk me through this. So we go to the casino to play poker or to play blackjack. You give them digital dollars, they're going to give you chips. So they give you $100. So I take my 300 to play poker. I get 300 in chips. I play around. I win 100. Okay. I go what? Cash out? And how do I got $400 in chips. What do I do? Do they give me the cash? And then how do I get the cash onto the digital platform? Or they don't give me the cash. They say, give me your digital account and we'll add the 400 to the digital account. I mean, I just don't see how you get away from money. And if I don't, But if I don't get a digital account, what if I want to, am I gonna then I go to the blackjack table and give them my digital and they give me so much chips, and when I'm ready to leave, they're going to hit everybody when they're ready to leave, or the cashier will give me your digital code and we'll add it to your digital account. I mean, that's unbelievably crazy. So I don't think that's really going to happen. So I think it's a long way away. In the U.S., it's not even feasible. It's too many people, too many banks that do not want to go out of business. J.P. Morgan, one of them, Chase, Citibank. I mean, these big banks make a ton of money off of us, are not about to just bend over and go out of business. And there's really not much they can do in digital dollars. They can't print digital dollars. There's nothing to print. So it just makes it very difficult. So I'm not really sure where that goes, but everybody's smart enough who knows that this is worthless. And the inflation is there partly to crash to get to the digital currency, but partly just to blow it up. And then we'll watch gold go through the roof. So that's my point with that, is where I believe it's headed. And so this saves you from, so this goes to zero, this saves you. So if you do nothing else, you buy this as protection and insurance, unless you don't think this is going out. But then define inflation for me. It's the deterioration of the money supply. Well, if they're inflating the money supply and it's losing value, then how the hell, why do you want to hold on to the money? It's like your Mercedes. It's now got 300,000 miles. Is it still worth $100,000? Hell no. So what do I do with that? So as the Mercedes gets older, now I have 100,000 miles on it. It's worth $5,000. I paid $100 for it. My car's still not worth $100. Like, this is still not worth $100 bill. Still not worth $100. What it was in the 50s and 60s. I mean, you watch these old TV shows, and in the let's say in the 60s, you watch Leave It to Beaver. It's what, in the late 50s, early 60s. You need to go to the malt shop, and it was a nickel for a Coke or whatever, or an ice cream, or a hamburger was 10 cents. Now it's, shit, you get a hamburger now and it's, I don't know what, $7, $8, and then they give you little fries where that would cost you 50 cents. Now it's that. Well, that shows you the deterioration, but it doesn't happen instantly. It's over time, so they can fool you. So you don't know. You go to work and you make your money and you have money to pay your rent, which, by the way, a house was like $5,000 back in the 50s and the 60s, and now you pay rent. My rent's $1,400 a month. So I mean, imagine what, a couple $1,000 bought me a house. Now it's, look how expensive the rent is. So I mean, that's what you have, is you don't see it. Your kids grow up, right? All right, newborn. Okay, you see that, and then they go to like 3 or 4. Then they hit 5 or 6, and then next thing you know, they're 15. And they're playing baseball, but all of a sudden, what happened to 10 years? It's the same routine. They go to school, they come home, they do their homework, they play sports, da 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 da. Off you go. It's Monday. It's Sunday. It's Monday. It's Sunday. And so you don't really see it. All of a sudden, the kid's older. And it's the same thing with the money. You don't really see it getting hurt in value. So what happens is, all of a sudden, Coca-Cola is 99 cents for a 2-liter. It goes to $1.59 for a 2-liter. Now it's $2.99 for a 2-liter, maybe $2.79, depending on where you shop. And you really don't notice it. You notice it a little, but not, and that's the money being worth less. And then sometimes they like let's say Oreos, it was 36 ounces for the big, 3 big columns is now 32 ounces, and they took 3 cookies out, but you don't know that. So now they're making it smaller, keeping the price. So you're not getting the same value you used to, is my point. And that's what's happening. So that's why the central banks are buying the gold to preserve their wealth. Now, if you have 100 grand, do you want to lose it? No. Hey, Andrew. When is module 2 start? What's module 2? What are you talking about? What are you interested in? What I don't know what module 2 is. Does something say there's module 1 and module 2? I don't know. Please explain, Andrew. I don't know what you're saying. So I mean that's the thing. So the people in charge are smart enough to understand they're printing the money, it's worthless. So they then go buy gold and silver, right? That's what they do when they know that's the out, right? Because you can't create money. I mean, you can print this shit, but you can't. What's your alternative, right? Diamonds, I guess, and then, or precious metals. There's no alternative to it. Was the lock? I'm heading to Punta Cana. I need money. Well, but you got Canadian money, so that's not a lot. I can't give you the lock because people actually buy my picks, Andrew, unlike you. I can tell you that Cincinnati is my free pick this week. So I can tell you it's Cincinnati. I like them getting half in a teaser, but that's as far as I go. People, well, okay, Andrew, if you bought for me, would you want me to give it away here? And then you'd get mad going, well, shit, I paid for the lock and now he's giving it away. Why should I buy it? So I can't give away information that people pay for. That's just wrong. I try to help you. I'm giving you Cincinnati as the dog, but I can't tell you what the lock is. That's why you got to buy. That's the business part of what I do, but all the economic stuff is worth far more than the football stuff. So you have you go to gold and silver as a way out. Now with Russia the part that they're really keeping from you is physical and paper. There is no game today. What do you want me to give you? Games are tomorrow. So the where was I at? The gold and silver. I was right at a key point too. Sorry. So the Russians have gone to physical. So the thing you got to remember is the value of the gold and silver is right now being manipulated as derivatives, which are paper, which there's no gold. It's like me selling you the Canadian club, but I'm not giving you the Canadian club. So we'll do a derivative on this and I'll sell it to you for $22. And you go, great. But you're not getting the bottle. It's paper. And that's what they're doing with gold and silver. They're just selling derivatives, which are options. And there's no gold or silver with it. So we want to lower the price. We're going to sell 1 million ounces of gold that we don't have to somebody that isn't taking it. It's all fake and bullshit. But who knows that, right? So everybody, I know gold doesn't do anything. It's what, $19.25 an ounce, $19.50 an ounce. So why would I buy it? It doesn't go anywhere. Well, it does in physical. There's a ton of demand for this right now, right? All over Russia, China, India, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, every country that is intelligent, and I'm sure Germany's buying it too, are buying gold. The central banks and the people. If you went to us, like I go to the coin store yesterday, right? Once I heard that news, I went bought 20 more ounces of silver and a half ounce of gold. And the guy said that we'd just been cleaned out. For 2 hours, people were buying gold and silver. So you can't tell me there's no demand for it. Now, it's how do you track the demand? In football, it's one thing. You can see the line move, right? I make a bet. somewhere and the line goes up. Except for when I make it with my bookie, the line doesn't go up because it's not being tracked by anybody. But if you bet at, let's say you bet at MGM, it goes public. And if it's a big bet, MGM will raise the line. Because really, in theory, MGM wants the same betting on both sides. So they want 1 million KC, 1 million Cincinnati. They make 100 grand. They can't lose. That's what a real book does, not what these clowns do. So how much demand is there for gold is not really, how do you track it, right? So I go to my store and I bought 20 ounces of silver and a half ounce of gold. Well, is that going to move the price? No. Should it move the price? I don't know. But if there was for 2 hours, there's people in buying, it shows demand. How are they tracking demand? And I don't know that they are, but they know it's huge demand. I guess you would look at sales, but again, if somebody buys something from me, it's not recorded. If I'm the bookie and you bet with me, it's not recorded. So if I go to the store, they might put their sales numbers down, or the banks or whoever is keeping track. How do you know when people are buying it? So are you looking at my 1,000 ounces of silver and 500 ounces of gold, and does that go somewhere? I don't know. We know that the India are buying a ton of gold and silver, and we know China and Russia are. We know that for a fact. I'm not sure where they get the data from. That's the problem, but they are getting it. So again, the demand should raise the price. So that's what's being locked down. So again, we get to the paper price and the physical price. And for all these years, it's only been a paper price. So whenever anybody analyzes it, what do? They go, well, in 2000 with the dot-coms, the gold did this, and 2008 you had that crisis, and the gold did that. And the problem is nobody's asking why we're having those crises. Those are all caused by the Federal Reserve and the government. They lowered the restrictions to people so they could buy houses. Well, that was a mess because you're loaning money to people that they have bad credit, they can't afford it. Oh, here's a house, and then they wonder why they can't afford it, and they go out and they go, sorry, I'm walking away from the loan, and well, because you did it. You didn't lend the money. So if I'm lending money, am I going to lend it to Andrew? Well, I'm going to see, Andrew, can you afford to pay me back? What do you do? How much do you make? What kind of collateral can you give me? And then you look at that. So if I lend Andrew $10,000 and I want $12,000 back, what's my confidence level that he's going to pay me? So you look at the credit score, you look at the job, how long he's been there, you look at his education, you look at his assets. Oh, you own gold. Oh, okay. Well, worst case, I'll get the gold. He doesn't want to trade it in because he wants the price to go up, but he has it. Okay, that's collateral. That's fine. I can lend you the money. I feel good about it. But if Andrew doesn't have anything, and then the next thing you know, he says, I don't have a job, I don't have any money, and I don't have any gold, I don't have any diamonds, and I don't have any assets, then I got to be an idiot to lend him money, because how are you going to pay me back? But that's what the government allowed, was lending it to Andrew, not good Andrew. And then Andrew couldn't pay. And then all these people, but then they look at the gold price. What does gold have to do with that? It's still fixed by JP Morgan. It's still derivative paper. For some reason, everybody looks at the derivative number and everybody looks at the U.S. gold. Why is it priced in U.S. dollars? And why is it only in derivative? Why isn't it priced in physical? It's the only thing. So Canadian Club, if it's priced in derivative and it's $5 for the bottle in derivative world, so in options, okay, I want to go buy it for $5, or why do they sell it? But physically, it's $50. So you can see the disconnect, but you can see I'm not going to give you $5. I'm not going to sell this for $5 when I can get $50. And that's really the whole key to it, is selling it at physical, at the bottle. You want the bottle, okay, it's $50. Well, but the paper says, well, fine, go find the paper and buy it for $5 if you can, but you can't. It's physical. So gold at 1900. Why is this priced at well, now it's 2100, but why is that priced in accordance with the paper gold when that's not really the price? That's a fantasy price. The price should be what are we buying this for physically? Because at the end of the day, that's the key, is the physical. And that's really what you're looking for. And that's what I understand, and that's why I call for the higher values. And that's why the central banks are buying it, and JP Morgan owns that, and the professor. They do a money heist. They don't steal crypto. They steal gold. They don't steal paper. They don't steal, on the first one, they printed paper. But now they went after the gold. Well, why? He's got $1 billion. Why is he now going after gold? Because even he knows that the paper will lose its my namesake. So that's really what you're looking at, is what's the truth. And that's what people don't know. They either know, A, gold doesn't go up, so I'm not going to buy it, but they don't know why. Or they know it's JP Morgan holding it, knowing that JP Morgan won't allow the price to go up. So why should I get into it? Because they're looking at it all wrong. People are looking at gold as like Microsoft stock, and it's not. Do people look at this like it's Microsoft stock? No. People buy this. Why? People have this. Why? It buys you stuff. Okay, it's the medium of exchange, but I'm not buying it for the value to go up. There's no interest on it. In fact, it goes down. And most people don't understand it goes down, but this goes down. So in counter, this goes up. So why do I want? So I have no trouble with this, but when I want to trade this in for this, and the value of this is being held down by JP Morgan, and I'm assuming, well, it's never going to be worth more. It's not going to go down in value like the dollar will. And eventually when the dollar goes down, this has to go up, and this should be going up anyway. And you can see it went from 35, even with JP Morgan holding it, to 1950 right now. So it's gone up a lot, even being held down. There's so much demand that it's still, they couldn't keep the finger in the dike and watch it and keep it down at 35, which is probably what they want to do. Now, the reason they do it is because they want a monopoly on money. So why is JP Morgan doing it? They want a monopoly on this. They don't want you in gold. They want you in this. They think this way we can just keep printing, and they wanted it to be the world currency, which I don't even know what that means. This is the real world currency, is the gold. That's it. They don't do anything else. And then, well, what I don't like is people saying, well, you're hoping for a collapse. That's why you own gold. Well, we're not hoping for the collapse. We want everything to be running smoothly and everybody to be happy, making a lot of money and living a nice life. That's what we want, but that's not what the government wants. They want to control us, and they want to take our money and tax us. And not only are you paying taxes for income, but you're paying a bigger tax when now this is worth 50 cents, as I show you from the dollar, that they're stealing from you. So you're getting stole, but they're not telling you we're stealing. So they are. And so to say, well, we're going to have, it's got to be this terrible event where the money crashed, the money's crashing. Without the bad event, it's been crashing since 1913. You just don't notice it, but you do notice prices going up, and like with the movies and like Pepsi and Oreos and everything else, I said, you do notice it's more expensive, but you don't know why. Oh, it's evil, greedy companies. Oreo wants to make more. Well, in this time, yes, they don't want to lose, but I don't know that that they can just raise their price to $5 for the pack and people are going to pay it. So it's not the wisest move to make yours cost more because your Oreos cost more, whatever the hell it is. So because your items cost more, you then got to make your profit, and so you raise your price. But you can't do that, as I've pointed out. You can only go with the market. The market will pay $2.50 for Orioles. That's what you're selling them at. Now you make it $5, and the market's saying, "Fuck you, I'm not going to pay it," until they lower it. So now when I go to the grocery store, I'll see Orioles on sale 2 for $5, which in effect are $2.50. But you got to buy two, which is probably going to kill you and your kids if you eat 2 packs of Oreos in 3 days, which is what you'll do because they're addictive because of the ingredients put in, that you'll just keep eating them. And if you eat 2 packages of Oreos, your blood sugar and blood pressure go through the roof. You'll be in big trouble if you do that. So you don't really, I don't buy Oreos. If I do, I tend to buy the little 6-pack at the gas station and go from there. But even that now, even the little shit at the gas station is expensive. So I'm really not, but go buy Fritos now. It's like $2.50 for a 3-ounce Frito. It's like, look, dude, I want 99 cents. I just want to taste. I don't want to do that. So, but the whole goal of business is to move your inventory, and you can't do it if you priced it over the market. So you can't change the market. You can't sell a Camry for $30,000 if the market's 22. You can't sell Orioles for $5 if we're only willing to pay $2.50. So that's really what happens. So as the dollar is getting destroyed and things cost more, the dollar's worth less, so people have to charge more to get the same value. So if I loan Andrew again, if I loan him 10 grand, I want to get 12 grand. I want to make $2,000 because I got to risk. I can just buy $10,000 worth of gold. I don't need to loan him the money. Now, if I'm a bank, I want to loan him the money, and I'm probably not. Well, they are running and buying gold. All the banks, central banks, are buying as much as they can. But that's kind of the problem. So as you, for me to loan the money to Andrew and make the $2,000 for the risk of him paying me back, I got to charge him a high interest rate. That's really where the inflation is, because I'm going to get paid back. I want to get paid back $15,000 because it'll only be worth 12 by the time, if it's, let's say it takes them 2 years to pay me back. I'm really not getting 15,000. I am indirectly, but it's losing value because of the inflation. And I'm really getting 12,000. So I'm still getting my 12,000, but I got to charge them for 15. I got to raise the interest rate, which is why interest rates are higher. Not what the Fed does. The Fed raises rate. When the Fed does a Fed funds rate, this Powell does that, it's only to the banks. It's not to us. So now you go to JP Morgan or Chase, he's charging them the 5.5%, and he's charging the central banks of the other countries the 5.5%. He's not charging us. It doesn't really affect us except for the point of then if the credit cards raise their rates or because it's prime plus whatever, or if the but the mortgages aren't affected by that, or are the car payments. They're affected by the inflation. They're worried I need to charge 15 to get to 12. It's got nothing to do with Powell. It's apples and oranges. So Powell's only affecting the banks. And so if we wanted to take a loan from the bank, that's why it's more expensive. It's costing them more. So when interest rates are the price of money. That's all it is. So when you raise the cost of things, then that's what inflation is. It costs you more to do the same thing. That's why we have recessions and depressions, is it costs us more. And we can't just print money. We can't just go to our boss and say, you know what, inflation's 10%. I want a 10% increase. As I say, when you're in the job market, you should never be at a job for more than 4 or 5 years from a business standpoint. Okay. So you learn your craft. So let's say whatever, you're an IT guy and you're doing, I don't know, Essbase, or you do SAP or Oracle or anything. You should do it for, okay, I learn it. Okay, now I get really good at it. I'm a guru. I'm advanced. Like I am in Excel. I know it inside and out. So now, but where do I go with it? I'm gonna get my 3% increase, which is nothing. Inflates at 8, 9, really 15% when you include rent and food. So therefore, how do I stay at my job with 3% increases? Maybe I can't get a promotion, or the brother-in-law, the owner, has got my job where I'm going, so I can't go anywhere. So therefore, what do I do? Well, as I'm suggesting, as a business person, you find another job, and you basically go and say, okay, I'm making 100 grand. So now so you go on the interview. What are you making? 105,000. Right there, you already are getting a $5,000 raise if they hire you. Then they look at the skills. Now, what does a company want? They want, can you do the job? Is all they care about. Can you do the job? Can you do a budget? Can you analyze a financial statement, a general ledger? Can you, just, can you do certain things? So my master's says, well, look, I proved at getting a master's that obviously I'm intelligent, or I couldn't pass to get my master's. And then you look at my experience at the big companies, and they go, oh yeah, I'm not worried. He can do the job. So then they don't know what you're getting paid. So that's where you get your raise. So now you're a business. Same as if you're selling, Canadian Club, right? How much do we sell it for? Well, what's supply and demand? So what's the market? And then, okay, we need to sell it here. Well, we're the market. So this is it. What am I going for in the market? What can I ask for? So I'm here, but I'm going to say I'm here, and I want my salary to go up. And so they don't know they have a range of what I should have been making, but they don't really know. So if you're 90,000, you're now 93,000. As long as you're in the range, they have no way of finding out. They can't ask for it. And now you've gotten 90, maybe they give you 93 or 94 years. And they'll say, why did you leave? I just want a new challenge. Nothing wrong. I didn't get fired. I didn't steal. I didn't, do anything. I just wanted a new challenge. And all they care about is, can you do the job that we need you to do? And you can see, yes. Maybe they check your reference. I don't even know why there is references, because so you guys give me as the reference. I'm going to say Andrew was a good guy. Eric, they're fine guys. If you're going to say I'm your reference, I'm not going to say anything negative. Well, maybe Bobby, but we all know Bobby. But I mean, of course, I'm kidding about it. They're just, of course, if you're using a reference, they're going to say he's a good employee. And again, at the end of the day, you don't really care. All you care about is, I need this done. That's why I need the person, right? I need you to cook a steak. And either you can cook it or you can't. And then, you cooked it at these restaurants, so when you come here, you'll cook the steak here. I have faith that you did cook it. We just checked. Did you actually work there and do that job title? You did. Okay, I assume you can cook a steak. And that's really whatever it is, accounting, finance, IT, anything. That's really what you're looking for. So that's how you get your raises. You have to look at yourself as a business. So if we carry this, so every about 3 or 4 years, you get another new job. To stay you used to stay at one job for the pension, right? 30 years, and then you retire and you make all this money. But with inflation, it's impossible. And then with them devaluing the money, it's impossible, because, all right, you're going to get money, but it's not going to be worth anything. So then it gets down to we are now all banks. And that's where I'm getting with my background: finance, economics, football, poker, all the analytical. So what I'm analyzing is they're printing, which that's what they're doing. That's the action. We're printing the money. The reaction is you're going to lose value because I know the more you print, the less it's worth. So I'm ahead of the game because I know the reaction to what you're doing. Most people don't. And they're behind the eight ball until they say, well, its price is going up. That's what inflation is. No, it's the printing of this making it worthless. So we're way ahead of the game. We know what the real definition of inflation is. So they're printing this. And the reaction is this is worth less and less and less. So I said to myself, when Biden came in and he started doing these $1 trillion things, what did I do? I sat there and I said, okay, what do I do? I can see he's printing and printing and printing, and I know it's going to lose value because I got a master's in Austrian economics. That's what happens. You print it, loses value. Too much of anything loses value. I'll even take you to a quick sidebar. So let's say you're at a steakhouse. We're at Bobby's house. He's cooking steaks for us and pig ears. So Bobby cooks us a steak, and you can have all the steak you want. So then you have a second steak. You start getting full. The reaction, the first steak was great. Oh, I haven't had steak in a while. Do I really want the second steak? Okay. It's a diminishing returns is what it's called. Then he says, well, you can have a third steak. And you go, I know, I've had two. That's plenty. I can't eat anymore. And my desire for the third steak goes away. But when I got there, the desire for the first steak was huge. So as it's a diminishing return, or it could be an ice cream, right? We go have a sundae. We love it. Here's a second sundae, which you can eat, but you don't want it as much. That's why we have variety. That's where it gets into go to different restaurants because you don't want the same thing. Same thing with, boys and girls, right? You want, why do I want to have one girlfriend? Because it'll get, okay, I'm satisfied. Now I want a second girlfriend or a third. It's not to be mean or I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but it's just like the steak. Okay, I can only have one. After two steaks, I don't want steak anymore. Start giving me chicken. That's the problem I have. So you're with a girl and you're like, okay, we've done it. Now, let me try some other, girls. And so it's the same in anything. It's food, it's women, it's anything. You get bored of it. There you go, Bobby. Oh, okay. Now, here, just for you, Bobby. This is the Philharmonic. This is the Austrian 1 ounce gold. And I was going through my gold yesterday because I went to the store and bought some more. And you can see it. So go get it in silver. I never know how far you were listening, so I'm glad you said hi. It's the Austrian. It's the sound of music, right? So this is the sound of music, and Austria is known for that. And then this is their big opera house on the back. And I've been there when I went to Vienna, and it's just a beautiful place. I didn't I didn't go to a show there, but it's in the James Bond movie when he's the second one, they go to Vienna and all the Spectre agents are there. That's the Vienna Opera House. But you should be able to get it in silver. And I know how you are into other things. So what are we talking about? So that's one reason you switch jobs and switch girlfriends and switch restaurants and order steak and pig ears and Chinese is because you want that variety. So then we get to this shit where they're ruining this by printing too much. And that leads us to what do we do to get out of this? Excuse my pen profession. All right, where's my phone? Okay, so I'm going to show you what I did yesterday. So I go to my coin store after watching my guy. What did I do here? I said, here we go. So I made you a smiley face. 10 silver liberties. These are the liberties bullion, and then a half ounce. The liberties were $27.10, so it cost me 500 and it was $520 or 540. It was 540 for the 20, and they gave me that little white container. Now these aren't the Eagles that are 35; these were 27, and then this is a half ounce Eagle, the gold. And what I did was he had tenths of an ounce, quarter ounce, and a half ounce. He didn't have any ounces except for the Credit Suisse bars. He didn't have ounce of he didn't have coins. So I said, how much is the quarters? He said it was 576. So it was going to be 1150. How much is the half ounce? He says it's 1130. So it was a no-brainer. I took the half ounce because I wanted to get a half ounce. I wanted to get, I could afford that. So it was either the 2 quarters or the half. Now here I happen to have the option. A lot of times he doesn't have the half ounce. So I got to buy the 2 quarters in this case. So I saved $20, but I got the same half ounce of gold. So that, and then the silver before. Now, did you see the videos I showed you, Bobby? Did you see where they're going to now price silver and gold in Russia? And the Russia physical exchange is up and running. And, we don't have a long wait. They thought it was going to be like late in the year. Now they're like, I guess they're saying maybe summer. I don't even know if it's going to. Let's see what happens after the Super Bowl, because they like to wait for the big event and then they do their shit. So this is going to move fast, but now we'll get the derivative market onto the physical market. You're going to really see it go. Well, I had a couple I did on mine, and then if you want, I can redo it. I have it on my phone. So it's this one here, 107, which is Russia to price silver and gold grams. That's the 107 from the guy, which you should definitely watch. It's only like 40 minutes, but he really gets into that's going to be huge because silver, what are they going to price it? Well, now when gold goes through the roof, to answer your silver question, it's going with it because it's going to be priced. So Russia is challenging the monopoly of the LPMA and JP Morgan and saying, fuck you. I'm Russia. I'm Putin. I don't care about your little monopoly, and it's blowing it up. And even better, now we're getting a real physical price of gold, which we should see, like I said, probably after the Super Bowl. So I have a little 1-minute video I can share with you. Well, this is the 4-minute one. I'm going to show you the 4-minute one. Obviously, as a monetary side, there's a commodity side. The most undervalued of all commodities, which I think nobody even ever disputes that. Can you hear that okay? So what's going to happen is silver will be increasingly benchmarked to physical gold grams. This is a huge deal. The resulting de-dollarizing of the largely netted out, cash settled LBMA silver fix undermines the so-called professional silver trade, exposing the extremely vulnerable 100-to-1 cash settled market to become physically deliverable, priced in gold grams. Think about that, guys. That is a change in how you price a commodity. This has drawn unwanted attention to the paper-centric gold-silver ratio. Now, people who don't know about it, there is a ratio between gold and silver, and obviously among the traders understand what that is. But essentially, what it illustrates is the difference, the leverage in how much silver it takes to buy a gram of gold.
And this week, really taking advantage of the thin conditions while China is absent due to the lunar holiday, insiders desperately capping silver and options derivative bets ever closing above 24 on recording this on Wednesday, and tomorrow's Thursday, and that's options expiry. So what they did was they've been capping 24, desperate to keep this level from closing on Thursday. Now, they managed to walk spot silver almost $1, when in fact $4 down to tag $23. I mean, this is ludicrous. It's similar. This is massive Indian silver demand. And what they were doing was simply targeting old game here, targeting visible CTA long stocks, which they have on their books, at very obvious 50-day moving average. We know that these big moving averages always hold stocks, whether it's on the upside or the downside. They targeted them at any cost. With the CTA long stocks at the 50, of course, we said, you know what, because they're going to just be two-way routes, and sure enough, because it drove the ratio trade, the number of grams or ounces it takes to buy an ounce, grams or ounce of gold, actionable extremes. So obviously, because you're looking at the way the difference in how silver has been valued in gold brands, the obvious gains test and joint flush of this 50-day moving average, it put silver about 90 cents below the very strong option support, which is around 23.5 to 23.8. Any surprise that we're seeing it gaining around that level now? However, liquidity providers reported that insiders were pushing the ratio trade envelope to extremes as gold rose into these fresh gold highs, which we've seen again and again. Day after day, we're seeing fresh gold highs. This indicates it's the momentum CTA specs who are being tricked into taking the short load, and the insiders are 1-to-1 long against it. So while very short term, utilizing momentum from the led by those specs, the group of maybe short traders may get further wrong-footed into options gaming, very short term. Selling silver into a very strong gold market is driving the connected ratio trade to extremes that liquidity providers assess will force commercials to hit the long side of silver above 80-1, but it's above that right now. In the attempt to keep the silver from closing above 24 on Thursday, the ratio trade was driven as high as 84-1. I mean, that's ludicrous.
All right, so 84-1, the normal ratio is 8-1. That's how strong silver will move. So they got to go like 10 times to get it to 8-1 at gold at these prices. So as he's saying, what he's saying in English is it's all being price fixed, and it's about to blow up because of the of what the Russians are doing, pricing silver and gold, and then they're gonna come out. They already have this physical gold exchange, as I shared with you on the other show. So he's the guy to listen to, and then the other guy, Alistair McLeod, with the bald head and the glasses. Those are anybody else tell them to fuck off. They're just wasting your time. They don't. What I really am getting pissed is the heading will say something, and then you'll watch the video, and it's one of these 7-8 minute videos, and it doesn't talk about the heading. Gold's going to go down, and it never says anything about it. I assume it's in a longer video, but they should change the title. So that's what they're saying, Bobby, because the silver is priced in gold and Russia's now got a physical gold market to price it, you don't have enough. Whatever you have, Bobby, you don't have enough. But that's what he's saying, and this is all news. So like I said, let's let the Super Bowl happen, and then Katie bar the door, as they would say. So it's going to get it. So back to this. I realize they're printing, and they're printing, and the reaction is going to be inflation, which is exactly what happened. And I did this like a year and a half ago. You can see my old videos of a year and a half ago where I'm saying, get the fuck out of this then. And so I said, well, I can't buy euros. I can't buy Swiss francs or British pounds because they're all printed like this. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that. Tell two friends if they want to learn. So this is what do I do with this? I can't. It's all paper. It's all the same. If I'm in Germany, Switzerland, England, Japan, China, Russia, it doesn't matter. They're all fucked because they're all doing the same thing, printing and printing and printing. So the answer to get out was to do this. This was your only answer, gold and silver, because this will not only not lose value, but go up in value. And then it is breaking the JP Morgan derivative monopoly. So as I was talking about monopoly versus competition, we want competition. If there was competition, this thing would be 40, 50,000 an ounce right now. Now, the ironic part is we would have been able to afford it now. So we are still able, I can still go to the store. This was, I don't know, 1,700, 18. This was cheaper than the Eagle because it's Austrian, but it's a gold. It's not a problem. And if you notice it actually says on the bottom, it's 100 euro. So you see that it says, so this is really worth at least 100 euro. Not that that's worth anything, but you can see that this is real money. So if you see like it's worth $1, it's worth $50, like the US is worth $50, you know that's real money. And not that it matters, but gold, I only buy the real money. Silver, I'll buy the bullion because, again, we want the ounce of silver. So that's why I jumped into this, and that's why I recommend it, is because this has a short shelf life. There's nothing left for it. It cannot go up. But that was my point, right? So everybody says, well, don't buy gold. It's not going to go up. It's not an invest. It's not Microsoft stock. Well, neither is this. What is the difference between this and this? This is printed by the government who could give a shit about us, who steals half of it and prints and devalues it. And this is not. This you can't print and you can't devalue, which is why the government doesn't want it. So this is not an investment. This is just something, a medium of exchange, so I can go get barbecue ribs. This, on the other hand, is money. This is currency. Money's real and legal. And since this is real and legal, this cannot be printed. This cannot lose its value. This will go up. This cannot get, but this doesn't give you a 5% return either, right? And so in other words, not only do you not get a 5%, but you actually are losing money because they're printing it, which is what's happening now. Oreos are more expensive, Pepsi's more expensive because this is worth less. So they charge more to get the same $2 out of you. But now $2 won't buy you the same. So now they charge $2.90 to get the same $2 out of a 2-liter of Coke. And that's why they raised the prices, is because they want to get the same $2. And then we get to the next flavor of it is the market. So how does this do? This doesn't give you interest either. So neither of them give you interest, but everybody wants to get out of this and go buy Microsoft and Amazon, or go buy Bitcoin or something, or go buy real estate, but nobody wants to buy this. And so I figured out, Bobby, that they either understand that JP Morgan has the monopoly and keeps the price down and price fixes it, so they don't want to fuck with that, or they don't understand that, but they just see the price never moves. They don't understand why it never moves. And so either way they go, oh, gold doesn't go anywhere, so why would I buy it? And that's the difference right now, is this is about to go to the moon because this has been price fixed. Unlike this is not price fixed. This isn't even price. This is, we print and print and print. This is paper. This is being fixed. If you will let this go, to its normal price, that's where I'm getting 40, 50,000, because if it's priced in this, as you devalue this, raises this price is what should happen. So when there's 10% inflation, this should have went up 10%. It didn't. How could that be? And that's really, but does this give you 3% or 5%? No, this is not a stock, but this is money the same as this. The difference is this this goes to zero, this goes to the moon. That's why all you're doing is switching your money out, because this is going to be worthless, as I was saying, Bobby, before you came. So if you have a Mercedes, it's going to depreciate to zero no matter what. So you bought a $100,000 Mercedes. The more you drive it, the more miles, the less it's worth, and it eventually depreciates to zero. That's the same as the dollar. The more they print is the mileage, right? So they printed $1 trillion. That's a lot of mileage on the dollar. Therefore, it's going to lose its going to lose its zest and then go down. So really, why would you think you're going to make 10% on this? You don't normally, but since you're keeping it down, all that I'm saying is when they let their foot off the pedal of keeping the price down and they get rid of the derivatives, this price, the demand, as he said, the demand in India is huge, and Russia and China. We know that. So if the demand's here, price has to go up. So if price is 1,900, or it was 2080 for an ounce of gold yesterday, Bobby. Like I said, I got the half ounce for 1130, which means if I double it to an ounce, it's 2,300 almost for a half ounce. Now, if I get two halves, that buys me an ounce. That's why you got to buy the ounce of gold. It's really the best purchase. But who always has $2,000? Sometimes you just want to spend $500 or $600. So you either buy the silver or he had quarter ounces yesterday. So I could have got a quarter ounce for $5,676. But I'm so happy I'm retiring or not or whatever that I'm like celebrating, because now I've got my rent. Now I got all my expenses covered. And then to our buddy Bobby, who laughed because I live in an apartment, so therefore I can't have a brain in my head. I see where people owning houses regret it, because in 2022 they all lost their ass, which I'm sure that our buddy did. But that's basically what it is, right? The people, buying a house thinking it's real estate. It's a good thing. Real estate's not a good investment if you don't know what to do with it. You could buy a farm or a golf course or the land next to Caesar's Palace. That's a good investment. But if you bought land 10 miles away from Caesar's Palace, in the middle of the fucking desert, how much is your land going to be worth? Why would that be a good investment? That's my point. It's not. It's a terrible investment. It's a bunch of fucking sand. What are you going to do with it? Maybe in 100 years, the strip will go far enough out where they'll actually put a hotel or houses on it. But otherwise, you're fucked. So, but it never comes up to buying gold. So the guy in the sauna was like, well, I know there's a monopoly by JP Morgan, and the price won't go up. But he's missing the first rule of buying gold is to get out of the dollar, and you buy gold with it. Even if you buy real estate or stocks. So if I take this and buy stocks, I'm still in the dollar. And as this goes to zero, the stocks go to zero because they're not worth anything. So even if that's your choice, you're still in this system. This gets you out of the system. And that's why you have to own it. It's only going to go up because they can't keep price fixing it. And don't kid yourself, JP Morgan owns 300 tons of it. So he's not stupid either. He goes, oh, I better buy gold too. So he buys gold. Well, it's good enough for him. It's good enough for all the central banks, and it's good enough for Putin and Xi and China and the Indian guy and the Saudis. If it's good enough for them, shouldn't it be good enough for us? So if Putin buys it and he's a smart guy, or JP Morgan buys it, shouldn't we buy it too? Oh no, we'll buy real estate. We'll buy a shitty house and lose money, or buy land. I love how people think but they will stay away from gold because gold doesn't go up because it's either manipulated or they don't even know why it just doesn't. It's not an investment. And that's why they do it. And they kind of burn themselves. It's not an investment, it's money, but you got to compare it to this. Is this an investment? What does this do? It goes down. Like I said, a house used to be $5,000 in the 60s, maybe even the 70s. And now it's 2, 3, 400,000. Like I said, I'm paying rent of $1,450 a month. That would have bought me a house in 1972, or all right, or maybe 3,000 would have bought me a fucking house. That's my point. That kind of shows you, because it's really hard to measure because they do it in slow motion, right? It's a little bit here and a little bit this year and next year, and a little tricky. And basically, they want to fuck you anyway because they want 2% inflation in a year. Inflation is terrible. They think it grows the economy because they raise prices. But so what they're trying to do with the 2% is raise prices, right? So me and Bobby own a restaurant, and we can raise our pig ears from $10 to $12 because of inflation. That's what they're trying to say. But that's not why you raise it, because the market, you do it. We make it $10. We got our market. We raise it to 11. We still pretty much have our market. If we go to 20, we've lost our market. So you can slowly raise it. Like Chinese tonight, I'll go get my Chinese, and she kind of raised my General Chow from $11.95 to, I think it's $13.95. So she raised it $2. Now I know she did, but that's okay. But if she goes to $20, goodbye. I'm not going to buy it. I'll just buy chicken at the grocery store because I can still get it for $2. I bought a roast yesterday, 2.5 pounds. It was $4.99 a pound. And I bought one, and I said to myself, I should be buying like 10 of these and throwing them in the freezer, but I don't have room in my freezer because I got all the other steaks and chicken and roast that are already in there that I'm waiting when I believe the hamburger is going to be $25 a pound, and I'm going to say, well, I'll eat this because I can't afford that. But so far it's been tame, which I still don't understand. But meat is still... Now, I don't know what they're putting in the meat, and I don't know if I can trust it's 91% sirloin, 9% fat. Maybe it's not, or who knows what they're putting in, or to the poor cow. But I got to believe it's the same thing I was buying there, but it hasn't gone yet. I know fish I'm staying away. Salmon's like $20 a pound. I just walked by it like, yeah, enjoy it, fellas. Who's buying $20 a pound salmon, especially farm raised? You got to be fucking kidding me. It's not, it'll make you sick. So anyway, but that's really what's going on. All right, let's review football. For my football people, I'll get right back to the economics. Take a little commercial. So I look at the line when we started, Philly 2.5, 46.5. I saw a few Philly threes. So if you're interested in the Niners, go to the 3 and get the 9. If you're interested in Philly, lay the 2.5 and get the 3.5. Over under 46.5. 1 or 2 46s, but kind of where it's at. Then we got Cincinnati. So my score there is Frisco 20-17. And then Cincy KC. KC's now 1.5 everywhere. There's no 2s, a couple of 1s. Over-under is now up to 48 because they realize Mahomes going to play. Oh, really? I'm shocked. I didn't think Mahomes was going to play. I mean, that's the stupidest thing. I got 31-20 Cincinnati. I give KC 20 and no more. Buffalo got 10 on them, and I love how everybody ignores that Buffalo is this great offensive team. Everybody loves Josh Allen until they don't love him anymore. Well, I wore it the other day too. So I was showing Bobby, I was showing him the Austrian Philharmonic. I didn't get this yesterday. I've had it, but I've told him because he likes the silver. So I bought 10 silvers yesterday at 27 an ounce. Or 20 of them. So it cost me $5.40 for 20 silvers that are all going to be very soon in the hundreds, not 27s. It's Austrian. So this is the Austrian Playhouse, Sound of Music. This is the James Bond where they had that meeting in the Quantum of Solace, the worst James Bond movie ever made. And so that's what they have on the back. And you can see it says 100 euros. And it says 1 ounce in Austrian ounce of gold, 999. So it's a beautiful coin. The front's a bunch of violins. Only in Austria would they do that. So it's a really nice coin. I'm sure they have it in silver. I believe they do. So anyway, all you care about is it says 1 ounce of that. This, this is the same $2,000 as any other gold coin. Anyway, so I like Cincy 3120. Let's not forget what they did to Buffalo and Josh Allen, who I argue with people here. He's not that good. And now I got a little bit of ammunition going. He disappeared last week because Cincinnati got to him. Strong defenses. This is the free play. Take Cincy in the 7.5. So we're back to 1.5. I don't see any twos. I see 1 or 2 ones. And the overs are all 48, 48.5. Again, it's hard to go over with the Cincinnati defense, although it could get over. How healthy is Mahomes? He's not that healthy. Bobby can attest to that. I mean, you're playing on a high ankle sprain, which is basically you broke this bone, which is not going to heal in a week. And he's got to throw, so he's going to throw off his left foot. He's going to be thinking about it. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm going after that ankle, just like the old Raiders would do, right, Nick? I would just bring in Jack Tatum type and then say go after his ankle. He's not going to be able to run as effectively, maybe a little bit after the shot, but I think where he gets really crushed is right after halftime, after he's rested. I think he'll be done. So that's my picks. Frisco 20-17, Cincinnati 31-20. Like I said, really love Cincy because they're 10-0 as a road dog. And I think they're actually 10-0 as the dog, 15-0 as the dog the last 2 years. And if you play against Kansas City this year as a home favorite, it's 8-0 and 15-5 over the 2 years. So you got a bad home favorite because they're always spread too high, right? They're laying 10. They never cover the 10. And then you got a very strong road dog who just went in Buffalo. If it does, I don't know what the weather is in Kansas City, but it could snow in Philly. We got a bunch of snow last night. It was really hard driving home from swim. So I did, but it was like, okay, now it's calm out, but you can see we got 7 ounces of snow the other day and probably a couple ounces. We probably got 9 or 10 inches of snow the last 2 days. So that's, I assume, heading to Philadelphia. Nick can tell us. You're in New Jersey. By Sunday, it'll be clear. But that's which even helps the under more. And then today on the injury list was Travis Kelce with the back. He's questionable, but he practiced. I don't know what the hell that's about. He's not going to miss the game. Does he really have a hurt back? We'll see. But as long as Burrow and Chase are there, that's good enough to bet Cincinnati. So you guys are really getting a chance to see Joe Montana because a lot of you guys didn't see him live like I did. And I won so much money off of Joe Montana. So you just wait. That's a big part of betting is you're waiting for the next Joe Montana. And you're going to bet the hell out of him. So we're going to be betting Chase for years. Or Burrow for years. So again, we forgot Burrow. And this is why I warn you about these imposters like Lamar Jackson and even Hurts. I don't know. Purdy looks pretty fucking good. Mahomes pretty fucking good. Russell Wilson's good, even though he had a bad year. And Brady and Rodgers. So we've been betting them as the Montana. And we'll see what happens. I think Cam Rising, and we'll see about Van Dyke. He didn't have a great year. And then Hartman. So those are our next Montanas, we hope. Again, this will be interesting. Hartman's at Notre Dame now and Rising at Utah for the 6th year. I don't know why he didn't come out. I know he got hurt in the bowl game, so I don't know how severe it is. It's his knee, but hopefully he's okay so we can bet on him next year. So anyway, that's the football. Now, if you go to Yahoo and look at the quarterbacks, like by conference, which is what I do, and I put them into my Excel sheet, they've already got the changes. So they don't show Hartman at Wake Forest. They show Hartman at Notre Dame. So I'm getting a jump by looking at it. I can see where the guys are going. He wants with that clown, but so I already know where the guys are going. So I can start analyzing next year. I'll know what the quarterback is. And then you got to, is he going to be okay in the new offense? I've seen, look at they did with the Van Dyke. He didn't even move. And he goes from like 40-5 to 10-5 this year. Just terrible coaching. You didn't go to your best player. As I talk Art of War, you want to go to your strength, and Miami didn't go to their strength at all. They wanted to run the ball instead of, you got Van Dyke. What are you running for? I mean, it was just incredibly bad coaching. See, that coach, we got to bet against because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's the guy that came from Oregon, and they sucked. So you've got to see a good coach understands his talent and plays to it. I got fucking Joe Burrow. I'm not going to run the ball 50 times. I'm going to let him pass. Or I got Chase. I'm going to send him the ball 20 times. Or whatever. KC with Kelsey. I'm going to throw to Kelsey 52 times a game. That's going to your strength. That's what you want to do. And that's what this Miami of Florida coach did not do. His strength is Van Dyke, and he decides to run the ball 40 times. The fuck are you doing? You've got Van Dyke. He lit it up last year. What are you doing? So that was a big part of it. His play calling and offensive coordinator, and he fucked up everything. So you got to be careful with that. So anyway, so we got Cincy strong dog, KC a weak home favorite. So the free play is Cincinnati. I can see them winning. I got them. My Super Bowl is Frisco, Cincinnati. We'll see, can they handle Philly? But with everybody healthy, McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle, Ayuk, and then Purdy's fine in the defense. This is going to be a war. I don't expect a lot of points just because you got two very strong defenses, and that's what you have. So, again, carrying over that. See, this is competition. If it was a monopoly, if J.P. Morgan was running the league, it'd be Kansas City and everybody else would suck. You can't beat Kansas City. It's price fixed, right? Kansas City's going to win because J.P. Morgan won't let Cincinnati go. Sorry, you can't pass the ball, Cincinnati. That's J.P. Morgan fixing football, right? Nope, you got to run. You got to run it every play. You can't use Burrow and Chase. Sorry. So it carries over to everything else. So I like how economics carries over into everything. So that's what we got to keep an eye on. So again, I bought the half ounce for $1,100, and I bought 20 of those Liberties for $540, which I strongly advise because now that we can see the Russians, if you watch that video, the Russians are again going to move the silver price to gold. Once you realize what that means is now you're right. Once you realize this, so this is 107. This is one of the good guys. So once you realize Russia to price silver in gold grams, what that's going to do to the price of silver. We know gold's going through the roof because all the central banks are buying it, and silver's now tagged with it. And it's at 84-1, and it's supposed to be 8-1. What do you think is going to happen to silver? I mean, so is it a risk? No, I don't think so. Is J.P. Morgan going to be able to keep the monopoly as this dies? What are they going to keep a monopoly on? The monopoly's on dollar, but as this turns into this, now what the fuck? So what's your monopoly on? I got a monopoly on chocolate cake. Well, yeah, but nobody wants it anymore because of sugar. So what's my monopoly's worthless, right? So when you watch some of these videos and they talk about the strength of the dollar and, it'll be the reserve for another 10 years, and they're full of shit. You can't print your money to zero and nobody wants it. And 33 countries are now in BRICS or off the dollar, or they call it de-dollarizing, which means we won't take the U.S. dollar And really, it was a stupid concept to begin with. So if I'm in Switzerland and I want to buy a euro, I have to buy dollars to buy euros. What the fuck is that? So now I think what they all want to do is, I got my francs, they got euros, I'm going to buy the euros directly. Why pay this middleman? So they're paying the middleman. So it's like paying a guy to go to the grocery store for you. Well, no, I can go to the grocery store and pick up milk and bread. I don't need to pay, you or this DoorDash. What a stupid concept that is. I'll pay somebody to go to get my ribs and bring them to me. I can get in the car and drive over. I don't need to pay because it's probably not cheap. I mean, they got to cover their gas and pay their guy and go to this place. So I'm sure it's $20 to pick up your ribs, not $2. Well, I know if I drive there and back, it's going to be $2 worth of gas. So what do I want to pay 20? I like to get out anyway. I don't want to sit in the house. So people that do that are stupid, but that's what's been going on with the dollar. But because we own U.S. dollars, when I go to Europe and I go to Amsterdam or Lisbon or something, I don't know. I don't care. It's fine with me because I don't notice it. Right? I'm doing an ATM with my U.S. dollars. Give me euros, and I get 100 euros out or whatever, and it costs me, let's say, 110 for the transaction fee or whatever. But I don't have to monkey around getting the U.S. dollars. I already have them. So if you're from Switzerland, then you got to monkey around and get U.S. dollars. There's a fee and that. So it's a cut. No wonder everybody hates the U.S. I mean, look what the bullshit they're doing to try to get that. That's ridiculous. I'd be pissed off if I was somebody like that. So that's what we'll see. So, what else? Poker, I don't know. I'll probably start playing again maybe next week. What was I watching? Yeah, I don't know. I'm so sick of these Phil Hellmuth and Daniel Negredo guys. It's ridiculous. So it's hard for me to watch it. But when I go down, it's maybe I'll start going down, but I don't really want to go and play. I'd rather just buy more. I get more fun going and buying gold than I do. I get more fun out of this and holding it than I do going and playing. What am I going to do? I'm going to play poker, win a couple $100, or I can buy 20 ounces of silver and make $20,000. Well, what would you rather do with no risk? So soon it'll go up. I'm sure it's, we can see the handwriting on the wall. We're seeing the videos. We're seeing what Russia's doing. They got to pay for the war. They got all 15,000 tons of gold that's sitting at 2,000 an ounce. That should be 20 or 30,000 an ounce. Same thing with India. Same thing with China. Oh, I know what I was watching. So, there's the Suez Canal and there's the Panama Canal, and it connects the oceans for trade routes, right? So you got a big ship. He wants to go from the Atlantic to Pacific. So he goes on the Panama Canal so he can go from, like, I don't know, what is it, New Orleans, Houston, but you can't get to the Pacific in LA. So you go through the Panama Canal, which then allows you to go right to the Pacific, saves you all this time and money. Well, they're trying to do one in, where the fuck was that? I want to say Colombia. That doesn't sound right. I don't know. It was a place in Central America and the country Colombia. I think it's a Colombia canal, and it's Colombia in South America. It's Central America to connect. It's so I think China can get to the Pacific or something. It's the quickest way around. I don't know. It's one of these connection things that they're trying to connect, and apparently it's been tried by 20 countries and they can't do it. It's not worth it. It's too expensive to try to dig the canal to connect the one ocean to the other. And now China thinks they're going to do it. And they spent $300 billion or $300 trillion now they've got the project. So again, they'll probably never build it. I think it's Columbia Canal. They'll never build it because obviously these other countries couldn't build it. And so they want to get the shipping lane. They want to make money on everybody using it. They'll charge a toll like a bridge or a tunnel. And that's the reason they want to own it. But it can never be built because all these other countries, including the US and Russia, have tried and walked away going, we can't do it. It's the land, there's endangered species, there's a lot of other stuff that they just can't dig it out and build it. So a lot of countries have tried, nobody else can do it. So here's China, and I'm reading this $300 billion thing, and it's like after watching it, I go, what are they doing? So everybody else tried and couldn't do it, but you're going to do it. I love that mentality. They're not going to be able to do it. And if the U.S. and Russia, believe me, if it could be done, the U.S. would have done it. So they can't do it. So I just saw that, and I was just shaking my head, going, what the fuck are they doing? So China's going to lose another $300 billion. So I thought China's bankrupt, but they still seem to have money. You run the printing presses. That's why they're broke, though, because you can't inflate out of a war or all the problems that, China doesn't have oil, so they got to pay for it. So a lot of what shit's going on is to make more money. It's all about money, but it's all pretty much illegal. So we will see. There will never be a Chinese Taiwan U.S. war. It's never going to happen. Because we can blockade them with a battleship going through one of these straits. So they got the Indian Ocean, and wherever China's on, the China Sea has to go through this little canal, and they won't be able. And the U.S. can just pull this big boat, and then they can't go through, and they'll block it. So they will never have a war, U.S. versus China or Taiwan, because if they do that to if China invades Taiwan, we'll do the same thing, and they won't have oil. In a month, they'll be out of oil and basically dead because they won't have energy or utilities or anything. So they can say it, but there'll never be a war. Why are we not at war now? I don't know if NATO's at war with Russia or what the fuck's at war with Russia, but I was watching something and the prime minister of Germany saying, well, we're all at war with Russia. And it was really weird because it's not like she said Germany's at war with Russia. It was more like all of us are. So like, I'm not going to fight them by ourselves, but all of NATO will be at war. I don't know. She said that yesterday, so I don't know what's going on. My girlfriend in Russia is she just goes to work. She doesn't really, they don't tell her anything. It's all like hidden. So Putin doesn't allow outside news. So therefore she really doesn't know except for what I send her on YouTube, which is like, I go, are you aware that they blew up the Red Square and they blew up Putin's headquarters? And she says, no, I didn't know. And then I send her the YouTube of the bombs exploding. There was a mall in Russia and stuff like that. So now she knows that. So I send her to her. But I don't know. It's just, I don't get this Russian war. We do everything for a reason. We sell our paper to buy gold because this is going away. There's an action and a reaction based on what's happening. We're smart enough to understand what inflation is. You fuck this up. And the reaction is, well, if I'm going to lose all my value, I might as well turn it into gold and silver, like Rumpelstiltskin, and make hay turn into gold, and off I go. So that's really the point. You're doing things for a reason. I don't know why Russia's doing this whole war with Ukraine. I don't get. We want half your oil. I don't know. Just seems weird. And then they're blowing up the little fields. They're sending rockets into the fields. What is that? That's not military. So anyway, it's just very strange. Fortunately, my girlfriend in Ukraine can get out. She can train to Poland, and then we can meet anywhere in Europe that we want. Although I'm kind of scared to go to Germany right now. Anyway, so that's that. Poker, no, but we know how to play. And again, you always want to be, if you're in business, you want to be the monopoly, but that's illegal. So you always, when you're buying stuff, you want competition. It's cheaper for us and better quality. That's why there's more than one pizza place and more than one rib plate, more than one restaurant. So it's all there. So that's what we're looking at. Unfortunately, no football today. I always hate this Saturday because you've had the football games go, and now it's like, okay, there's the 2 games Sunday, and then we wait 2 weeks for the Super Bowl, which I've always hated. Just play it the next fucking week. What's with the 2 weeks? Well, the guys will get injured. Well, if Mahomes wins, he's still not going to be ready for the Super Bowl because it's a 4-week injury. So he got hurt last week. So this week he's maybe 50%. So I don't know if he can win on that. And then he'll get another week and then the Super Bowl. So he'll have 3 weeks. He'll be better, but he'll still be banged up like when he played Tampa and they were all over him because he couldn't run because I think it was the toe that time. So, I don't think Mahomes should have played last week and he wouldn't have got hurt, right? So let's use that logic. If Mahomes probably shouldn't play today, he might get hurt, or tomorrow. Or Burrow, he shouldn't play. He might get hurt. The whole thing's so stupid. We can't play our players. They might get hurt. Oh, my God. It's fucking football. So when they do get hurt, it means you shouldn't have played them, right? You shouldn't have played Mahomes last week, and now he'd be healthy. But then you won't play him this week because you don't want to get him hurt. So never play him, and then he won't get hurt. I think that's a good way. Like the pitchers, right, Bobby? Let them no pitch count. So why don't they don't even pitch? Why don't they just sit there and, let's get them down to 10 pitches a game, and then we won't even pitch them. We'll just have them sit down on the bench, and we'll never pitch them, and their arms will be perfect. They'll never be used, but, they won't get hurt. None of them will get Tommy John surgery. The logic some people use is just fucking unbelievable. Anyway, so that's the professor today. So watch what's happening with gold in this Russian exchange. It's huge, especially if they're pricing silver and gold. It's going to go. It's 84 times. Let's talk undervalue. So it's going to go way up. There's just more demand than supply, so it has to raise price. So let's say supply's here, demand's here, and price, and then the price is here. So even if the supply goes up a little, the demand's so big because most people and all central banks and banks know that this is worthless and they got to get out of it and they got to get into this. So most people understand that. And that's why it doesn't matter what the supply is. And then it becomes price. So I don't care. I heard somebody talk about cost averaging like it's a stock. Well, when it goes down, you buy gold. And when it goes up, you sell it. People should be selling it when it hits, 2000. Like if they bought it at 1750, they should sell. First of all, nobody bought it at 1750. It's not a stock at 1750, and you can't sell it for $2,000. The whole thing is preposterous. It's 1900. Nobody's paying 1900 for it. So you're buying it for, let's say 2050. So if gold spot goes to 2050, you can't make any money on it. What the hell are these idiots talking about? You're not making money. That's not the reason of gold and silver is not to buy it. I didn't buy it at 27 an ounce to sell it at 30. I got Michael Jordan cards that I bought for $2 that are worth $300. I just got to get them graded. So you do that in stocks. You don't do it in gold and silver, especially fake price derivatives. You do it with. Now, will I sell this? Yeah. When the first number is 5 and the last 4 are zeros, then I'll sell this maybe, and only one. But I got a lot more than one, so the others are going to be just sitting there, comforting me. Not, I'm not going to sell all of them. There'd be no reason to. I'll give one for a house and one for a car. Maybe I cash in a quarter ounce and get some money. And then I got all my silver. So that's what you're looking at. You're not looking at, that's all you're looking at. You're not really, this isn't what you're trying to do. Do you buy and sell this? Do you buy this for $1 and sell it for $1.50? No. So why is gold is this? Why does everybody think gold? Why do they treat gold like a stock? Well, you don't get a 3% dividend on it. You don't get a 3% dividend on this. In fact, you get a negative 5% dividend on it. Right now, it's a negative 15% because of the inflation. So what are you telling me? Why do you compare gold to stock? But yeah, you don't compare real estate. Well, what can you buy? Well, you can buy real estate. Well, that's not going up either. Or let's say you bought a house. That's not going up. So why you're against gold, but you're into real estate, and the real estate's not going up. It's going down because of the high interest rate, because of the inflation. So the inflation is the key to everything. You're not buying houses, and you're not buying real estate. You're not, maybe you buy diamonds, but that's not the easiest thing to get rid of. This I know I can sell. I could sell this on eBay for, $2,100. How would I sell my diamonds on eBay? I'd have to get them graded. They'd have to come back, cut, clarity, and everything else. And I'd have to get it graded to sell it, because nobody's going to buy a diamond without knowing what's the cut, clarity, color, and whatever the 4C is. So that makes this the most. I'm not selling land on eBay. Maybe you can sell a house on eBay, but again, you go to an agent for that. So maybe we need to be gold agents. Let's start a gold agent company, and we'll figure out how to buy and sell your gold for you. That would be huge, because that's desperately needed. So that's where we're at. And just remember, you want competition. Today's Chinese food day. We're going for that after our swim. And football tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow for that. Again, the free pick Cincinnati, and we like either the under or Frisco. Take the dog in the other game. Let's see about the weather, but the first game should be very low scoring with the great defenses. And that's really what I've kind of come to the conclusion after all my Rubik's Cube figuring out a football. You don't even look at anything but the defense, and you go, holy shit, how's Frisco going to move on Philly, and how's Philly going to move on Frisco? You're not going to see too many touchdowns unless it's a kickoff return or a pick six. Therefore, I ain't getting a lot of score. I'm going to get a couple of field goals, but I'm not going to get a lot of scoring. I'm not going to see the 41-23 Frisco-Seattle game, because I'm not playing Seattle's defense. So I'm not going to score 41, and they're not going to score 23 on me. So it just goes to show you, when you want to build a team, you build the defense. If you build the defense, you keep everything. You can win with the good defense. If you have a great defense like Georgia last year and everything, you can win that just with that. How many Super Bowls did he win? None. Or Dan Fouts. You cannot win with those guys, unfortunately, because what if he starts throwing interceptions? What if there's sacks? It's only good if it's the good defense can carry you a lot farther than the good offense. So that's the whole key to it. That's why you build defensively. I mean, that's what the Niners have done, right? They build the defense, and Philly with Aaron Donald, or the Rams with Aaron Donald won the Super Bowl. Philly with the great 75 sacks and big play Slay. I mean, they're pretty fucking loaded too. Since these defense has been playing well, the only one who doesn't have defense is KC. They're relying on Mahomes. That's why they didn't cite Tyreek Hill, because if they would have, they wouldn't have any defense. Because you can't. You have a salary cap. You can only pay so much, and you can't pay Mahomes and Hill and have defense. So that's the problem. You have to be wise the way you salary cap things. You have to be able to use your money the best. And you got to realize there's 22 players, and all 22 are going to get hurt. So I really need like 30 players and a good backup that I can pay a little bit to. Who are going to be on my taxi squad. Like my offensive linemen that get hurt. That's going to happen. Defensive line going to get. So you have to have the reserves, like what Cincinnati did last week. They didn't miss a beat with their left guard and left tackle out. They brought in new guys, and Burrow ran up in the pocket. He didn't wait to get killed, and they put up 27. Buffalo's got a great deal, but it's the same as KC. Buffalo and KC have gone to. We're going to go play offense. And they ain't beating anybody because the name of the game is defense. So really, that's the biggest lesson I learned. And I think that's good for all sports, basketball, baseball, hockey. You got the goalie, the defense. You got the pitcher, basketball. You got the best defense will win. If you do that, you can win. Far easier. What do you see? Like, this team, if they only had a great superstar. Well, there's only a few great superstars. That's why they're superstars. They're not a dime a dozen, and then therefore you have it. So depending on the sport, but there's a lot of very good defensive players that if you have a good defensive coach, like Philly, do they have superstars? Does San Francisco have superstar defensive players? Like, do they have a Joe Burrow on defense? Probably not. Bosa for Frisco, and when he's healthy, and then I think there's Peters or somebody on KC, a defensive tackle, whatever his name is. So you got a few, but most of the defense you never heard of. That's why when I go through the injuries on these teams, I laugh because I never heard of. I can't even who is this? Who's that? Where did they get them from? Especially now with all the injuries, you're dealing with third, fourth stringers who have no freaking idea what they're doing. The skill level is not next man up. There's no such thing. So you're saying that the next cornerback is as good as the first one? No, because the first one's the starter. He might be a Pro Bowler. The other guy's a journeyman third stringer. Played at Kansas, not Ohio State. Is he any good? Maybe. Not that you can't get talent out of Kansas, but maybe offensive based on what's going on there. But that's what you have. So I think the whole thing is defense. So we'll predicate the Super Bowl. That's why I like Frisco and Cincinnati. Frisco's a 16 and Cincinnati's an 18. And Philly's a 20 and KC's a 22. So if I just look at the defense, it's Frisco. And that's why I took Philly over the Giants. And that's why I bet over on Jacksonville KC. And the only game I really got burned was with Dallas Tampa, where Tampa's defense didn't show up. Hey, Mr. Phil, Khalil Mack was a blast watching at Buffalo. Now in the NFL, how didn't the Alabamas of college not see how great he was? Well, maybe he's a late bloomer. That happens where the guy's okay in high school. Look at David Robinson, right, at Navy. He was a guard, and he gained 7 inches between his sophomore and junior year, and all of a sudden he's a center. Well, nobody, Kentucky, at the point of them recruiting wasn't any good. But after growing 7 inches, then he becomes a superstar. Or Jordan, or Magic, we all knew, but he was from Michigan State. He grew up in Lansing, so he went there. I don't know. Maybe Alabama already had good linebackers, and therefore they didn't need another one. And to them, we got all these 5 stars. Khalil Mack's just another guy. He's from Buffalo, or I don't know if he was from Buffalo, but it's all bullshit, and it's all how many times do they bust on it where Alabama thinks they have a good player and he sucks. That happens all the time. So therefore, it's just a hit and miss. Look at Michigan. They can't get a quarterback to save their ass. They go through all these guys. They finally get a good one, and what does Harbaugh do? He benches them for this other guy who can't hit the broadside of a barn. And he throws how many interceptions in the TCU game? So this JJ guy stinks. So again, a mistake by Harbaugh and his quarterbacking. Ohio State, you can never tell because it's all a system. So me and you could go in there and throw 40 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So it's hard to say, but they don't, there's always these late bloomers. There's always these you don't know. I mean, a lot of running backs. Look at Van Dyke. Even Miami didn't start him. They blitzed. Look at Rising at Utah. They didn't play him right away. He finally got in after, and he's on the team, and the coaches don't even recognize him. Phil, I think it was maybe before all this portal. Yeah, it was definitely before the portal. So maybe he was stuck, or maybe even loyal to the U of Buffalo, or maybe probably just didn't have any scholarships except for to go to Buffalo. I think he just was underdeveloped. So Michigan, Ohio State just had their guys, didn't think he was that good, didn't offer him a scholarship. And then maybe he pulls a Tom Brady and says, well, fuck all you guys. I'll show you how good it is. Yeah, I know, late bloomer. I'll show you how good I am. And he gets the chip on his shoulder, and then he plays like a superstar, like what Brady did. Oh, I'm a 6th round pick. Fuck you. I'm a 6th round pick. And he still is trying to shove the knife in, saying, you guys didn't think I was any good? Well, fuck you. And he just keeps going. So look at Brady's things. Look at Montana. It's the 3rd rounder. So everybody misses. You just don't know what you got. So anyway, it's not, Alabama can't pick right every time. Nobody can. They can't. In the NFL, they make mistakes all the time. You got to know what you're looking for. It's like me picking. I look for the defense now. I used to look for the offense. Now I'm really into the defense. We're cleaning up. They don't know what to look for, especially these GMs in the NFL. They are clueless. What do you hear? Well, he's too small, or we want a running quarterback because look at how many Super Bowls running quarterbacks won. 0. Oh yeah, that's a real good evaluation. Or, well, he's too small. Warren Moon's too small. So now they're judging height. What the fuck does height have to do with it? I mean, in my mind, if Drew Brees could play at Purdue and he played big guys against Michigan, Ohio State, why can't he play in the pros? But he wasn't too small at college. So it just blows your mind that the way that they get something in their head. It's like, I'm not buying gold because JP Morgan price fixes it and it'll never change. How about the Russian bricks whole getting a market for physical? No, they don't see, what's that expression? The train until it's too late or something. I don't know, it's one of these Joker expressions, but he's too small to be a quarterback. So that never changes. This will never go up because JP Morgan price fixes it on COMEX. It's changing because of bricks. So you've got to put 2 and 2 together going, wait, this has changed. This is going to go. All this inflation. Oh, the US dollar is always going to be the reserve currency. Well, I bet they said the same thing in Rome. We'll always be the Roman Empire. We'll always be superstar number 1. We'll be the Georgia of the Christ years. I mean, that's, so if we're living in Rome now, are we thinking the Roman Empire is going to collapse? No, never. How could it? It's too big to fail. And then when France had it, did they think they were going to fail? And then England had the reserve currency. Did they think it was going out? So when you're living in the moment, you don't think it can ever happen. Well, the US dollar can never go out. Well, I'm sure the Romans, French, and English said the same fucking thing. And look what happened to them. It all is the same common denominator. You inflate it. when you fuck your dollar and you make it worthless, especially with all these wars, and see where my mind's at, all the wars and all the debasements, all the military spending, you just you just can't spend it to death. Million, right? You don't have the million anymore. You just spent two. And I think, and Bobby can detest, this is what happens to a lot of athletes. They're not really educated in finance and economics. They just took basket weaving and gym and art so they could practice baseball, basketball, football. They get their degree in air, so they don't know what they're doing. And all of a sudden they're handed $10 million, which they don't know how to invest. They don't know what to do with it. They probably have a financial, and then they go spend 20 million. Because instead of buying the house outright, they don't. Well, why don't you? If I had 10 million, I'd be buying like $700,000-$800,000 house with cash, saying, okay, I'm done with you. Buy a car, I'm done with you. Not go on payments, not go, just take my cash and pay it. And now I don't have to worry about a house. I don't have to worry about a car. I go to the store for my food. I might hire a chef to cook for me, and a maid to clean the house. And and then what do I do with the rest of my money? Well, in my land and professor world, I'm buying gold and silver with it. I don't want an investment that I can lose. Oh, buy stocks, because my manager will, my portfolio manager, or whatever you call these idiots, they'll put me in stock and bonds. Oh, great. And how about inflation? Oh, we don't know what that is. Oh, good. I can trust you to make sure I'm bankrupt soon. Well, thank you. And it's just retarded. But that's why you got to learn economics, because you have to know what's going on. So if you're a quarterback, you have to know, you have to practice to be a quarterback. You have to practice to be an economist to save your life, so you know to do this when this goes to shit, right? You have to know what this is and what's the kryptonite, right? Superman had kryptonite. This has kryptonite. This kryptonite is you print it to zero. And this is the antidote. This saves your life. It's very simple. I'm teaching it to you, but most of the world doesn't. They're fucking clueless. So they get a lot of money. They spend more than they have. They don't even know what a budget is. If I give you $1 million, you cannot spend $2 million. If I give you $1 million after everything, you got $1 million. You can't spend more than, you can spend the $1 million and then you won't have any money. So how much money do you want? So you spend 500 grand, and the next 500 you put into gold and silver, and then you're set. You don't have to worry about any fucking stock market crashes, inflation, anything. And you're done. Phil, I don't want to derail class, but do you ever read Professor books? I mean, not articles. If so, what are your favorite genres or any good recommendations? Well, in school, I read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I got one, The Stories of the Greeks. And then I got Adam Smith, and there were some economic books that I really like. So I would recommend Adam Smith for sure. And then whatever, like, do you like the Greeks? Then I read the Greeks. I thought that was interesting. Or poker books, Doyle's poker system, which I thought it's just being aggressive, but I don't think he knew. I don't think he quite understands it. He thinks he could just intimidate you. I'm going to bet $100 you're going to fold. Well, don't play me, Doyle, because I'm going to trap the shit out of you. I'm going to be holding 4 kings, and you're going to go all in. I'm going to kill you. So it's not really, if I know what you're doing, you're not going to beat me. Would you describe yourself as an anarcho-capitalist? I'm not an anarchy. Like I said, what you want for a country, and I'll try to find it quickly. In a minute. So the first thing I want is a good medium of exchange that is portable, scarce, divisible, fungible, acceptable, durable. So I want gold because people will inflate, people will ruin things. So that's my basis of what I'm looking for in a, how to live, right? I want to be on the gold standard, and I'll take care of myself. I'm very much individualistic, more capitalist. I certainly don't like communism or socialism. I don't want the government telling me what to do, but I do want the government because you need somebody to have the laws. So there's the 4 keys to a country, which I will try to find. Mm-hmm. Just a second. But I want to answer your question properly. And it's probably in my notes and not in my thing. So basically what I want is a limited government with free trade, a gold standard, low government spending, no taxes, and deregulated, no regulations. But basically the key is having fair laws, and you need the business to be invisible hands. So they're free and they govern themselves. So if you're cheating me, we see that, and we have to have laws that will dictate that. But that's basically what I'm looking for, or what I would have. So if you want to describe me, it's really to have freedom. Yeah, I mean, tax cuts. So I would not have taxes. I'd have a gold standard. I would have very little regulations, and I would have laws and a very small military, because you need a military. Where is that? Can never find it when I need it. But I do have a thing. I'll have to write down like a summary sheet. Well, anyway, there's a better answer to that. But basically, I'm for freedom. I'm not an anarchist, because you need laws, and if there's a dispute between my business and your business, we need to be able to solve it, go to court, have the Constitution, have laws that say you can't steal from me, so nobody could come in and steal. So you do want some bit of government or some legal system, a sound financial system, which is why you must have the gold standard, very low or no taxes, because we don't want a big government. So we certainly don't want the government controlling us, and we certainly don't want the government dictating what to do, or raising interest rates and killing everybody, or having inflation, or destroying other countries. So I'm all against that. So I guess you could call it capitalistic versus, obviously not communism or socialism. But I want freedom. I want people to be left alone, do their thing. Here's a few laws, so don't do that. Otherwise, you're pretty free. So that would be it. So I don't know what you would let, but I'm not for no government. I do think there needs to be rules. It's like playing football. Well, you want rules in the game. I'm not for no rules, but I'm for not too much ref interference where they're calling penalties on every play. I want it to be, but you do need rules, and you do need somebody to ref the rules So if that's government or just judges and, some sort of legal thing, and then stay away from my money. We're on the gold standard, and that's it, and there's no change. So that's how I describe me. It's anarchy only in the economic sense. Personally, I don't think it can work, but was curious your thoughts. It's a libertarian phase you only hear in those type of circles. Well, libertarian, I think, is light government, but it's anarchy. What's anarchy? The gold standard's not anarchy. Would you rather have J.P. Morgan having a monopoly on printing money? Is that better than having gold standard where nobody can fuck it? Because eventually, like Rome, they had gold standard, gold and silver coins, and they eventually took all the gold and silver out of it. And then it was brass coins, and that was the end of Rome. So what do you want? I mean, so that's kind of my point. You do want freedom. I don't know if that's libertarian or, I don't know the word for it. I don't think there is a word for it. I don't think you can, like right now it's Democrats and Republicans. It's really not. It's really, I guess, free market and socialist. And most of the government are socialists. They're not Democrats or Republicans. So it's almost like conservative or liberal. So I'd be more conservative than liberal because I don't want to tell everybody what to do. I want them to do what they want to do. But I feel that just because they say they're Democrat or Republic, it's more should they be called liberals or conservative? We got to get the right term of conservatives. Well, that's my point. Who could enforce a gold standard other than a government? That's why I don't think it would work. You don't need a government to. If you keep the banking separate from the government, you're fine. But you don't want the government involved with the money, with the gold. You just want the country to have a gold standard. Well, just a bank can enforce a good. It's just in your laws. We're on the gold standard, and you don't need a government. What does the government? What does Biden do? He doesn't. Besides not knowing what day it is, the government. Is it the central bank that says we're getting off the gold standard? Nixon did it. He was the president. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want the president taking us off the gold standard. I think you could that's the laws of the country. There is only a gold standard. We cannot be taken off. Nobody will have power to get rid of the gold standard because that's how we created it. So when they created the Constitution, there was no Jefferson, Hamilton, Lincoln, Jefferson, Washington, all those guys, John Hancock. There was no president. They weren't really the government. They just created the Constitution, and that's the game. And then there should never be a Nixon who can take us off the gold standard. There never should have been a Roosevelt who said we're going to go on a Federal Reserve in 1913. That should have been blocked. Going, well, wait, no, the Constitution says no central bank, and it's in the Constitution. So the problem isn't the rules; it's the referees. So you've got to check the referees so they can't change the rules. Oh, now we can push the guy 20 yards, the running back, and the announcer can say, wow, look how good it is. Well, dude, he's getting pushed by 5 guys. He's not running. I mean, they're pushing him. And why aren't they tackling the guy? Why aren't they tackling the runner? That just never made sense. But whoever creates the rules, you cannot get away from the rules. So if my country says, and I'm not the president and I'm not in government and I'm making it, it's my country. No, you cannot get off the gold standard and you cannot have a central bank, period. Those 2 things. All right. We need laws to protect businesses and there won't be regulations on the business. If they fuck up, they go out of business. If they go bankrupt, they go out of business. And that's what I would do. And that's how I would run. Whoever to run the country will follow those orders. So is it a government? I don't know. Is there a government that runs GM, or is it just the board of directors? Are they a government? So it'd be set up like a company, right? And then you would elect the officers, but hold them into like if you watch Meet Joe Black, right? They had something where what's his name? The real good guy. So he's in charge of the company, and then the other guys try to cut him off and say, "Well, you're listening to Joe, so you're not in the right mind. We're gonna fire you, or you're gonna take retirement." And they forced him out. Wait a minute, that's not a government; it's a board of directors, and they're going by the bylaws. Going, if he loses his mind, we can vote him out. So that's how I would run it, is more like a company. You do elect the officials, but they're not really government, but they're running the country. But there's checks and balances going on. There would be no economic laws, only free market. Well, free market, there would be laws about, if somebody goes into your store and steals, you can prosecute them. So there would be laws about that. Or if we find somebody's hurting you or undercutting, not undercutting, but just, something's not fair, then we would have laws for that, of course. That is the entire point of "and do as it wants." And that's what I asked. Well, I've never heard that phrase before. Basically, it's Adam Smith, the invisible hand, is what you're talking about. We let the market go. We have Say's law, so you're going to make what the people want. You're going to have gold standards, so the money's good, the laws are good, very low taxes, if anything, because we don't need them. If we just have a board of directors, we don't. And, because they're going to make money from the company. So the taxes is a terrible thing that they do, and the inflation's terrible. But the free market, there is still laws. I mean, the free market means invisible hand. The government's not going to tell you what to do, and you're free to make what you want. Mostly Say's law, mostly what the public wants. You're not going to make, I don't know. You're not going to make a plate if nobody wants a plate, or something like that. That's a stupid analogy, but you're not going to make like this. I'm not going to make this Switzerland plate if nobody wants to buy it. But if there's demand for it, then I'm going to make it. And that's my point. So you make what there's a demand for, and if there's no demand, that's invisible hand. That's laissez-faire economics. That's kind of what we're talking about. But I've never heard the term anarcho-capitalism. It's just free market. Laissez-faire capitalism basically is what I would go by. But you basically want the government out of the way, controlling, and you don't want monopoly. Monopolies are illegal in my world, and they should not be tolerated. J.P. Morgan having the keys to the printing press should never be used. And when he does a Madoff and helps Madoff, he should be put to jail, not fined. I mean, what do people think? It's like the sanctions on Russia. What do they think that's going to do? It's not going to hurt Putin. It hurts it hurts my girlfriend. It doesn't hurt the people. It doesn't hurt Putin that you sanction him. Now you pissed him off, and now he wants to come out with his own dollar to come out. You've totally fucked the U.S. dollar, unless that was your plan in the beginning. You have sanctioned other countries like Cuba, but now you're sanctioning Russia. What the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you fighting them? Or, why is there a war? Let's settle the war. Why are you at war, Putin? What is it that you want? Because I don't even know what he wants anymore. I thought it was the oil. No, you don't just go for land. Well, we want it all to be part of the Russian Empire. That's not why you go to war. So you buy them or whatever. You don't do that. Here's 20 tons of gold. I want Crimea back. I want the Donetsk region back. Which I've been to. I had a couple of friends in Donetsk, and very nice city. Thank God I went when I did, because I wouldn't be able to go there now, or even because it was Russian. But very, it's a nice little city. Very, couple of colleges, couple of malls. It's very nice. Anyway, so that's what you want. You certainly don't want government in your life. You don't want this shit where they're printing it, and I even have to rip it in half to say it doesn't even have this value. That's not what you want. That's not the government's supposed to lead the country into freedom and into economic success, and the people should be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whatever you want to do, you should be able to do. And it should all be negotiated, how much money you make. And if you want to quit your job to make more money in another one, and you want to make cars, there shouldn't be no, oh, you got to make electric cars. There shouldn't be no, it's got to get 40 miles to the gallon. None of that shit. That's the invisible hand. Get out of that shit. Just Ford, you want to be in business? Go ahead. And if you can't make it, you're not getting bailed out. And GM, you're not getting bailed out when you fuck up. And Chrysler, when you fuck up, you can't compete, you're not getting bailed out. And that's what should happen, is let the bad companies go. You know, if they can't make it with the, you know, if GM can't make it with their stuff, why are you bailing them out? And if that company can't make it, or these banks, you just bailed out Credit Suisse in Switzerland. What the fuck? If they make bad loans, get fucked, then just let them go out. I mean, then let them learn how to be a banker. I mean, it's ridiculous. You got all this money and you fuck up, and then you got to get bailed out. Oh my, see, that shit should never happen. That's why you need the gold standard, and that's why you need invisible hand. If you do well, you do well. If you fuck up, you're out. That's it. And so now with inflation, these businesses should be going out, because a quick view of finance. All right. Now I got to go to my Canadian club just for you, Bobby. Do I want to get into this business? What's the market? So you always need to know the market. What's the market? How much can I sell this for? Is what the market? That's that question. $50. Okay. How much is it going to make? How much do I spend to make this? And is it under the $50? So if I can make this for, let's say, $35, $40, that's under the 50, I will go into business and compete with Crown Royal and Seagram's and Dewar's and all the other guys and Maker's Mark and everything else. I will compete with you because it's going to cost me 40 and I can make 50. But now inflation happens, and now my costs go up to 60. I try to sell it for 70, but the market says, fuck you. And now I can only get 50. So my cost is 60, but the market's 50. What do? I go out of business. I don't care that you've been around for 100 years. If you can't make profit, if your costs are too high and the market will not allow you to raise your price, you get the fuck out. And that's what I keep warning the guy at the barbecue place. I go, if you make your slab of ribs $40, you're fucked, because you'll never sell them for $40. You've got to understand your market, and this is all you can sell. And I tell them, ribs, $26. You can maybe go to $29. Once that hits 30, you're out of business. Very clearly. And, you know, he's kind of an Austrian economist to a point. He doesn't get it like I get it, but he does understand. He is buying silver and gold on my day. So he is getting that. But I made him very aware, you can't fuck with the market. The market is your livelihood. If you can't make the product at where you can sell it at in the market, you're fucked. Now, does Oreo cookies go out of business because they can't sell their cookies for $5? Well, they get creative and they say, well, you know what? We'll sell 2 for $5. We can be profitable at $2.50. We can't be profitable. We can't sell it for $5, but we can sell 2 for $2.50. And I notice Coke and Pepsi does that a lot, because they got so many fixed costs and they make so many bottles, so many cookies, that now it's a per unit thing. So they're able to, you know what? If you buy one at the $2.99 for Coke, for the 2 liter, you buy the second one for free. So now they're like really selling it for $1.50, which they can be profitable at. And then they got to figure out another way of handling the inflation cost. And this is where the government's fucking over everybody. And this is why, to answer your question, Phil, this is why you want them out of it. I don't want JP Morgan having a monopoly over printing the money, print all the money and fuck everybody. You fuck my economy. I don't want to ever get off the gold standard. Never. You have to have discipline like I do with football and like I do with poker. You need discipline to wait for your hand, wait for your game, and then you jump on it. That's why I have locks, because I'm waiting. I might not have a lock one week. I might not get it, but when I get it, I'm all over it. Cincinnati this week, 1.5. I get 7.5. I wait for Cincinnati to be a dog. I told you that last week. I says it'll be Frisco and Philly and Cincy and KC, and I'm going to bet the dogs. And that's, so I've been waiting, and I got the right dogs. And then next week it'll be Cincy, Frisco in the Super Bowl. I'll probably end up taking the dogs or taking the under. Well, I got to do a teaser, so it'll probably be dog under like I did last year. I had Cincinnati in the over, and I won that teaser. So it's really patience and waiting and things like that. But if you don't get a good line, you don't bet the game. 2-7 offsuit in poker, I ain't playing the hand. And I'm not in a company. I'm not in business. That's why I warned the CFO of my business, of the business I was working at, you're going to be out of business because his costs are going up, but the market will go away. So the market was the big car companies. So the demand was here. And as they start losing market share and they can't sell their $30,000 Toyotas, the demand for all those products go down to here. You cannot sell it here. So you have to lower your price. Can you do that? You don't even know what the fuck you're doing. Plus, the banks are going to pull the line of credit because they're afraid of getting paid back. So that's what happens. You basically run out and you only buy what you need. So they need steel and tires, but they can't sell cars. So you think Toyota is going to go to this little tool and die place to buy stuff? Hell no. Or whatever it is they're selling. And my last word I said to the CFO is, I'm not part of the problem. I am the solution. And if you're not buying gold, if I was you, I would not have bought all these little tiny businesses hoping you're going to turn them around, like flipping a house that's a piece of crap. You're not going to turn these around. You're better off if you would have just put your money in the gold. But I doubt you have any money because you're just using the bank for the line of credit. So I basically said, you're better off just taking the money and buying gold with it. You don't have any stress, and you know you're going to make a fortune, but you're too stupid. And I saw there's a company, Planeter, who bought $50 million worth, or $50 million worth of gold. A company. I like that. I'll work for that company. That company will be fine. But these other companies that don't buy the gold can't see whatever that expression is. The tracks in front of the train, or whatever. They can't see it till it gets too close, and I can see from this action of printing too much money to this action of the gold going up. I was on it from the beginning. I could see what's happening, and it's happening exactly the way I saw it. I bought all the gold and silver, and now waiting for it to go up, and then off we go, which it will do. It's just a when, and it's JP Morgan, and we, holding us back, but they will eventually blow it up. And so that's what you look at, but that's what business is. So my rib place, he's been a good boy. I went in there last week and I looked at the menu. I said, very good. You're $27 for your slab. He says, well, we're making money in other places. And I said, I know your ribs chicken combination's now like $22. It was $17. And your half barbecue chicken was $9, is $13. So very clever. I like what he did. He's staying with the ribs low, losing a little bit of money, but so it's like when you go to a grocery store and milk's 99 cents or something. That's the loss leader. So the sales get you in, and then you hope you buy butter and bagels and tuna and everything else. But the milk's going to be in the back of the store, and we'll lose money on it on purpose to bring you in. So you always need to bring people in, and that's what you did. So the rib place, you go there for the ribs. They're very good, but you just got to be careful. So what I do is get the chicken rib combination. I spend $22 for the rib chicken combo, and I get a half a chicken, which is $13, and then I get 5 or 6 ribs. I think that he gives me a few extra, and so that's like what, $8-9 for probably half a slab of ribs. So I'm pretty much ahead. And you get a nice salad or coleslaw and the baked potato or fries with it. So you're like, this is a big fucking meal. I usually eat half, take it home, and eat the rest the next day. So I have 2 dinners out of it. But that's what you do. And I've warned him, you can't go over market. I even show him. That's why I show this. This is what you got. If you're in business, invisible hand, this is what you got to find is the market, what's the demand and what's the price. Once you find that, then you can figure out if your costs are here or not, and what your selling price is. Your selling price has to. Your selling price is here. You're going to lose your market, and then that's critical. You can't lose your market. So those are those critical things. So what we're doing with this little fella is, where's the market, right? The market's way up here, and the price is way down here. That's why we're buying it. That's why I'm screaming to buy the gold and silver, because silver's even like here and the demand is here. And so it's like, wait a minute, the price is not where it should be. Now we know it's fixed, but we know it's not going to stay there. But the demand, this should be where the demand is. So that's why this is breaking and this will go. Now I know it's been 50 years, but that's what Russia and the BRICS countries is doing, is getting this to meet the demand. So they're coming out the physical exchange. JP Morgan's blowing up. The inflation is blowing it up. It's like Madoff. He blew up because everybody wanted their money out because of what was happening in 08. He couldn't get the scam. He couldn't get more money in to pay off the people that wanted it. So before, when people needed money, the JP Morgans and the big players would give them money to cover what people wanted. But then when everybody wanted, he couldn't cover it. And that's why they got caught, is because he couldn't get money in to cover all the people that wanted their money out. And that's what's going on here. So they do all the derivatives, and now everybody's like, no, we don't want it. We're not going to give you the money to cover your little short derivative bullshit. So now they're realizing the game's over, and that's where now the physical, and that's going to blow it up, and they're going to lose their ass, these derivative players. And they realize that they're the ones also buying a ton of gold. So the purchases of gold and silver are so high. Again, they're not at market, right? So the guy is selling the ribs here and the demand's here. Well, what's happening is it's like he's selling the ribs at $1 a slab and the demand's here. And then at what point does he realize, well, shit, I can sell them for this, right? Why would he sell it down here? So if gold demand's here, why are you selling it here? And the only reason is he wants the monopoly. So you go into here and you say, well, gold doesn't move, I don't want it. That's what he's playing. That's why he wants the monopoly, but the demand's here. So like the ribs, eventually you're going to go to the demand. Why would the guy sell his ribs for $1? So he wants a monopoly. So everybody buys ribs for $1 and he loses his ass because it costs him $20 to probably buy the slab from the meat house. So that's what he's doing, right? So gold's way up here, the demand. And Russia, China is desperately wanting this price here because they're getting bankrupt. One's got to pay for a war. The other's got to pay for the housing market. So the ones with the gold need the price to come up. And JP Morgan gets to fight the Russian mafia. Good luck there. To your banking point, Professor, I am sick of privatized profits and public losses, but I don't think that's a unique take, but it happens again and again, really ticks me off. Well, that's why if you had the free market and if you have free market and invisible hand, you don't have that problems because the government's the problem. And if the government is not going to keep bailing everybody out, right? So if the government wants to keep bailing them out, that's wrong. We don't want If the company can't run itself properly and make profits, they should be out of business. So the barbecue place, so let's say he marks it $40 and the market goes down and he goes out of business. Why, if he's too stupid to run his place properly, why would the government bail him out? To your point, Phil, that's exactly right. The government should not. You need to figure out a way to make your business run or get out. And all the banks are in bed with the government. So the government's always going to bail them out because that's the first problem with the government. They're bought and paid for by the banks. Therefore, they're really not independent. Therefore, it's not, invisible hand. It's a very visible hand. And that problem now is they're corrupt, basically. So the laws aren't working, right? JP Morgan fixes gold. They all get convicted and nobody goes to jail. Well, these guys should be fucking fried. They should not go to jail. They should at the death chair. What you're doing is so wrong. It's ridiculous. So why are they letting him get away with it? Because the government's not independent. And that's the problem with big government. Then you start getting payoffs. But if you had the gold standard and you would have no need to pay the government off, right? There would be no government payoff. There would be no monopoly. So you'd get rid of all that shit. And that's what needs to happen. And that's the problem. So when they do something like a Madoff or like JP Morgan with all the bullshit price fixing so they can make money, well, make money legally. You can't make money illegally. So that's why you still have the invisible hand, but you still have laws. So once we prove that you're doing this price fixing, that would be the first question. Why is gold not going up? So I'm in charge and I go, why is gold not going up? Let's look into that. So I get the lawyers involved. They say, well, they're price fixing. And then I said, they all go to jail because that's illegal. That's not part of what the country's about. It's free market. You're not free market. You're trying to get a monopoly. That's not allowed here. And if you would just keep that simply, then now what they do in Switzerland is they don't put them in jail. They have to leave the country. If you commit a serious crime in Switzerland, you have to leave the country. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're gone. And that's the same, so that would be mine. That's the same thing. So that's really the problem, right? You start letting them buy the politicians and then they don't create the laws. They do the bailouts and everything else. So, and again, to your point, Phil, well, they're not going to bail out the barbecue place or the place. Why are they who put them in? And that's dichotomy, the problem. The banks should never be putting the governments in the office, so the government then owns them a favor. There's a drug you can take. I don't recall what it is. You should take some of this, Andrew. This will help you. This is like an antibiotic that it's a spray. Worked well for me for my nasal thing. But there's some cloves or something you can put right on the tooth. Or you can ice it. Well, buy gold, Andrew. I told you to buy gold if you need money. Buy your gold. Well, this is Canada, so they're like, don't know what to say to Andrew. Anyway, well, then you'll get a lot of money soon. So there you go. Good job. Thank God for the Russians this time. So that's how a business, that's the problem with the government and the business, right? You can't mix them. You can't have the government have lobbyists. You can't have banks lobby government to do what the lobbyists want. That's the first, how did that become legal? I can't imagine that's in the Constitution, or JP Morgan put it in because he's the one that wanted the monopolies. So the monopolies should never have been allowed, and they're not in the Constitution. I don't know if he needs a surgeon, but my dentist could do it if you come to Detroit. He's good at that, but it's an infection. So yeah, this is good for infections. This is an antibiotic. Get this, it's cheap. It's probably free in Canada because all medicine's free there. And then this is just a spray. You just spray it under your tongue, and it'll fix you up. Ride with the Moose Avalanche over with. Well, he's hockey. He can bet the Habs or he can bet the Leafs. I mean, let him go like that. He's more Ottawa, so he can bet the Habs. Maybe Jean Martel. No, maybe John Beliveau is playing. Bet on John Beliveau. Frank Mahavlich. There was a game I watched on YouTube. It was Bobby Orr against Montreal in a playoff game. And Boston scored and scored and scored. And they were up like 5-0. And then Montreal came back and won like 7-5. And you couldn't believe it because Bobby Orr's on the ice. And how are they, and they just fast braked. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And Boston couldn't do anything. And Montreal, it was like 1971 or 2, or years. And it was shocking. But anyway, that be it. Well, what do you want from me, Andrew? I gave you the scores. Can't you figure out from the scores I gave what to do? 2017 Frisco and 31-20 Cincinnati. That's enough said. I mean, if you can't figure it out from that, I don't know how else to help you. Anyway, so what happens? So that's what business is. And then, like you're saying, this is the problem that I don't want would be these governments corrupt, and that's what they do. Money corrupts. You can't corrupt with the gold standard. That's the point. You can't print it. You can't have a JP Morgan printing it. You should not have it. You have a treasury that makes gold and silver coins, and that's your currency, and everything gets priced in it. And you have different denominations. You have a 1 ounce, a half ounce, a quarter ounce, and a tenth of an ounce. And then you're the grocery store, Cheerios are a tenth of an ounce of cereal. That's it. That's what you make it. And you see what it costs you, and then it's just everything's in silver and gold. And that's what you need. You need equipment. All right, it's a half ounce of gold for a big plant or whatever, right? You want to sell a car? It's a quarter ounce of gold for a $30,000 car. Get fucked because you can't print more than you have, and you're fine. So it becomes worth more and more and more. It's fine. There's not enough gold. It'd be very expensive. It's fine. That's what you use, but nobody can fuck you, and then nobody can, counterfeit, goes to jail. And do you even need banks? I don't know. Do you need a loan? Well, okay, so you have banks, but banks can't print money in my world. That's what they do. You give them 10 grand, they print 100 grand. Where do they get the money? They just printed it out of thin air. That's the problem with the banks, right? So they get all this money and they print it, and it just comes from nowhere. And you wonder why there's inflation. I mean, Jesus, you keep making more and more, and then, they're trying to say, oh, the U.S. will be fine for years. That's bullshit. I don't know how they're still alive right now. This dollar should have been gone 5 years ago. How it's still available, it's just smoke and mirrors. But we're taking advantage of this being 1900, 2000. Because really, when we're buying gold for 2,000 an ounce, or I bought my half ounce yesterday for 1,100, it's inflated dollars. So I really paid very little. I probably paid 800 for the 1,100 because the value of the dollars dropped, but the gold isn't going up. It's beautiful. So if you got 100 grand, now it's worth 70, but you can still buy 100 grand worth of gold and silver. That's the key. So not only is the dollar going down, but you're able to use 70 grand to buy the ounce, because the ounce should have gone up. So if let's say 100 goes to 50, and the gold's 1,000 should go to 2,000, but it's not. So you got the 100, but this is staying thanks to JP Morgan at 50. So where gold should go from, or what, 1,000 to 2,000, it's staying at 1,000, even though the money's going down. So now you can use your inflated dollars to buy gold even cheaper. So you're not even spending $1,000 on it. You're spending $700-800 because it should go up when this goes down. This loses its value, so it takes more of these to buy this. Oh, how, if it takes more of these to buy us, is this price not moving? And that's the problem with JP Morgan. They're exposed. It's like, what you're doing doesn't make sense, buddy. You're fucked, and they should all be fried. Send them to Siberia. Let them do their justice there. Let them go fuck with Russia, and let's see what happens. Let's see if Putin allows that, which he won't. Anyway, where did Bobby go? He shows up for a few minutes. All right. So that's your business selection, your gold. So you know to buy it. You know it's a no-brainer. It's a lock. It's just as much as you can. And you know it should be a lot more than the 2,000. Or if you need, the quarters are 576. The halves I bought yesterday was 1130. Tenth of an ounces they have. But the problem with tenths of an ounces, they're a little pricey because they were 230. If you think about it, I need 10 of them. It's 2,300. And the ounce is 2,100. So it's a little bit much. But I did buy a few of them just to have different amounts of gold. But I won't give the tenths. Well, where did you go, Bobby? In the middle, you missed all the business. Phil had some good questions. I don't know, Bobby. You can't leave it. Well, you can watch it again, but yeah, the last hour is pretty good. Phil had some interesting questions. So we're deciding we're on the gold standard with very limited laws, very limited government, and some short military. If I never see a Mahomes State Farm commercial again, it would be, yeah, I'm getting real tired of the Andy Reid painting the mustache on him, and he looks like an idiot. So the only reason you're successful, Andy Reid, is you had Donovan McNabb for 6 championships that you lost all of them, and then you've got Mahomes for 5, which you've won 1 because San Francisco has a dumber coach than you, and Shanahan, who didn't run out the clock with the lead in Atlanta and the lead in he was up 10, and he doesn't run the clock out. Mahomes is the best. Yeah. Why did he go to? You went to Texas Tech? I thought you went to LSU. Where did you? A Texas A&M guy. You're not a Texas Tech guy. You don't have to kiss his ass. Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Roger Staubach and Joe Montana. Joe Montana's the best. I keep seeing these things on YouTube where they're debating Larry Bird versus LeBron James, and everybody says Larry Bird is 10 times better than LeBron James, and I can't agree more. Then you see some Larry Bird highlights and that one Laker game. Well, that would make sense. You know where I think Brady should go is either Tennessee, Pittsburgh, or Baltimore. That's where he should go. And then he would, if he went to Baltimore, they'd win it next year. He's not even very good. He's not better than Karl Malone or Barkley. But they show Bird, and there was a playoff game with the Lakers in 85, 86, 87. And Bird told James where the play with 5 seconds left in the game and Boston down 2 in the Garden, and Bird walking to the spot because it's a timeout. So he's walking to his spot. He says, "This is what I'm going to do. If you overplay me, I'm gonna do a pick for Paris, and if you don't play me there, I'm gonna go to the corner and take a 3-pointer and nail it and beat you." And Worthy's holding on to him. You can see he's holding on to the jersey. And then Worthy goes out for some reason to cover somebody, and Bird's wide open, takes the 3-pointer from the corner, and he rims it. But he told them to play, and Worthy for some reason runs out after Danny Ainge or somebody. You're like, what the fuck are you doing? How do you lead Bird? So Bird's sitting there with a wide open 3-point shot to win the game. 2 seconds left. In fact, he didn't get it. LeBron struggles. You're like Kevin Durant. Yeah. Go watch some old George Gervin film. Is Rodgers going back to Green Bay? No, I don't think so. The way he acted, the way he acts like he won't every year. I don't think he will, because he made a big thing about leaving Lambeau for the last time. So I think he's gone because I think they can't pay him. I think what he wants, they won't pay him. Maybe he wants part ownership. Whatever he wants, he needs to go to a different team for. So I could see Oakland. I don't know about the Jets, maybe. Again, Baltimore, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, he'd be fine there. You remember when Durant got caught making a fake Twitter profile to respond to critics? That was just sad. He's sad. The only reason he's any good is he went to Golden State and they couldn't guard him because they had my guys. Jesus Christ. They had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So they couldn't play him also. But then when he gets away, they double team him and he's nothing. And they all thought he was so great because they had nobody left. They only put one guy on him because of the other two. So, and then as soon as he left Golden State, why did he leave Golden State? They could have won 15 titles in a row. So he screws himself. Now he's on Brooklyn. Yeah, that's a great move. Go to New York with high crime and high taxes. Yeah, real smart move. I think Durant is soft. He is. I don't think anybody can compete with Bird and Magic and Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain and Jordan. Jordan, I got so many asterisks about him. He never beat Bird, and until the end, and he couldn't beat Isaiah, and then finally the end, Isaiah hurts his Achilles. He beats the Pistons, and then Magic, it's his little thing, and he beats the Lakers to win his first title. And after that, he beat nobody. Malone and Stockton. Shit, me and Bobby could beat Malone and Stockton. Are you kidding me? How about Curry? Sure, he's not. I'll take Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas all day. Russell Westbrook. Well, how do you even watch this crap now, Bobby? It's so bad. I'm used to Isaiah and Rodman and Barkley and all those guys, Karl Malone and Stockton and Magic and Worthy and Kareem. You can't even compare these guys. Yeah, okay, he's a nice player. What does he do? How many titles does he win? None. He's a scorer. Okay, well, so is Jordan, but Jordan could play defense and pass. Kareem scored a lot more, won a lot more titles. I don't even think he's as good as Dennis Johnson or Kevin McHale, those guys. I mean, Worthy, I don't know. You're telling me this guy, he sucks. He's a good shooter. That's about it. In a league where you can't play defense and you can't put your hand check on the guy and you can't Dennis Rodman or Isaiah them, then I don't know how you can even talk about this stuff. I mean, it's such a bad game now because there's no defense. That's the problem. So bring back some defense, then we can relate to what you're talking about. All I know is I saw the Pistons lay Jordan on his ass in the playoffs, and then that was it. Man, Jordan got crushed, and they didn't call a foul. I loved it. I was listening to Philly Sports Talk this morning. Guy was trashing Ezekiel Elliott as a bad guy. Then later in the call said Charles Barkley was his favorite player. Barkley was a maniac when he was pretty intense. Reminding me why I don't listen to it much anymore. No self-awareness. You know what my problem is listening to the talk radio, the sports talk radio, is Joe from Detroit will call and give his opinion. I don't give a fuck who Joe is. I don't care about his opinion. I don't want to hear his opinion. You know how I hate when people come in with their picks here if they can't back them up. I don't want your opinion on anything because I don't know who is Joe from Detroit and why do I want his opinion? I just listen to is there somebody injured I need to know about? But I don't want to hear the host's opinion, and I certainly don't want to hear the caller's opinion. Just like you said, oh yeah, Ezekiel Elliott's a bad guy. Do I care? And what proof do you know Ezekiel Elliott? Is he a good guy or bad? I don't know. I don't care what Ezekiel Elliott is. All I know is I bet the Niners and I won with them. I don't know. Is Brock Purdy a good guy? Is Bosa a good guy? I don't know. I don't care. If they make me money, that's what I care about. If they don't, I don't care. But I certainly don't want to hear Joe's from Detroit's thing on is anybody any good and should we care about it? So yeah, I have a trouble listening to any sports talk, especially when they go to the callers and get those guys' opinions. Charles Barkley once tried to spit in the face of a fan heckling him. He ended up spitting in his daughter's face. It happened in the late 80s, where he may have been banned for life. Old school Charles story. Yeah, I mean, he was nuts, and he never won a title. He tried to go, didn't he go to Phoenix and the Lakers or somebody to try to get, I think he went to Houston with Clyde Drexler and Elijah, and he still couldn't win the title. That was hysterical because he's, he was okay, but he's not the man. He's got to be the second man or third man. But yeah, he was. Now his '86 Flair rookie card is worth like $15,000, so you got to have some respect for the guy. Yes, he did. It still enjoyed his play, but wouldn't make the case he was great or anything. He was a good player. Is he better than Karl Malone? Was Karl Malone a superstar? I don't know. He was a good player. Was Stockton a good? They were nice pieces. I don't think they were great. I say Magic and Bird and Kareem and Isaiah Jordan after all those guys left was great, which makes me wonder how great Jordan is because he couldn't beat the best. He couldn't beat Larry Bird in a playoff series. He could barely win a game against Larry Bird in a playoff series. So how is Michael Jordan the best? I mean, that's one of the YouTube things. The guy's getting he never beat Bird. So if Jordan's the best, where do you rank Bird? Because Jordan couldn't light a candle to Bird. Did you like Rodman with the Pistons? Yeah, I liked him. Well, he had a lot of energy to him. He'd run up and down the court in the crowd to get into it. Is a rebound guy. Well, keep in mind, you had Isaiah, you had Vinnie Johnson and Dumars, and you had Bill Laimbeer. You didn't need him to shoot. You needed him to rebound. So, yes, on that team, if you got a couple of shooters, then you do need a rebounder. Absolutely. And he was a good power forward, and he can play defense. He shut down Jordan. When they would play Chicago, keep in mind, they wouldn't win. Chicago could not beat Rodman, Isaiah, and Dumars taking out Jordan and whoever else they had. And the only time the Chicago won is when they had Rodman, when Jordan could shoot and then Rodman would rebound. And so, it's coincidence. Chicago gets Rodman, they win. And when Detroit has Rodman, they win because that's a very key position. The rebounder, as long as he knows how to rebound, but he could play defense. I wouldn't want to drive on a guy like that. I'd get killed. And he was just very fast. I remember meeting him I didn't meet him. I was at a bar in West Bloomfield, city close to here, nice city, and with my buddy. And then at the bar, these really hot chicks, and they're talking, and it's Dennis Rodman they're talking to, and he's so shy, he's freaking out. And he goes to the girls, well, why don't you talk to him? Why don't you talk to him? And it was funny as hell. And I'm like, yeah, you tell him, Dennis. But he was very shy. And he probably thought the girls were hitting on him because he was a basketball player. And he didn't want that. I don't know. I didn't really I said hi to him. Like, yeah, thanks. Send over some more girls. But that was it. So he's at a bar, very shy. I just said hi, and that was it. Not going to get into Dennis. I think it was a rookie. It was like, you knew who he was, kind of like, oh yeah, that is that Dennis? Yeah, that is Dennis. But he was just sitting at the bar, but it was cool. The one I met that I was very good was Isaiah Thomas. I met him at I was walking out of like a party store, and he was walking in. And he had that big smile on his face. He's like, Teaser King, hey, he said hi to me, shook my hand, and he was the friendliest guy I ever met. And I said, I really think you're a great player, and good luck to you. And it was about a 45-second little high, but he was as friendly as he is on, just the big smile and how you doing, like he was my friend. I was like very touched by that. Okay, I don't follow basketball like that, so I wasn't sure. Cool story, pro. Once upon a time, Rodman was normal. How about that? Well, he was shy. I don't know if he was normal, but yeah, I mean, he was very. No, he was cool. I mean, I could have said hi and introduced myself, but I really was like, maybe Isaiah, but not you, Rod. And it was just when he was first starting. But yeah, it's kind of cool when you can meet them out of it. Like I always wanted to meet like an actress, like you see her in a movie. Like you always wanted to meet her at like at a grocery store. Like just let me meet you there where we can talk normally. That would be fun, kind of cool. Anyway, so I do that with my girls. We have good time together, and I help them out. They like that. Wow, a normal guy. I didn't know that existed. They'll tell me stories like my one friend in the Ukraine. She was trying to get a waitress job, and they wanted her to do a striptease. And I said, "What'd you do?" She said, "I walked out." I said, "Well, good for you. That's Ukraine for you. That's Russian men for you. Oh, you want to be a waitress at a restaurant? Well, you got to strip for us and probably do a lot of sex for us so we can hire you." That's why you got to be careful with the Russian women, because they go through that shit where the guy wants to have sex with them at work and everything. So that's why, and I'm very conscious of that. So when they meet me, I definitely respect them, and they definitely like that about me. I'm nice, and I take care. I handle the cabs and the dinner and the hotels. They don't have to worry about that. So they like that. Oh, he's not just trying to use me. No, I don't use people. So that works out well. Anyway, I'm going to go swim. I'm going to get my Chinese food. Unfortunately, no fucking football today. I'll have to watch the 81 catch game. I think the Niners in Dallas, so I can see Joe Montana play. I like watching that game, or the Notre Dame USC Rose Bowl, or any of the Michigan Ohio State 70 Archie Griffin games. They are so good to watch on YouTube. Although I don't know with all the fucking commercials, but when you can watch them pretty commercial free, and the refs actually know where to put the ball, and they don't need instant replay and 5 minutes for a instant replay or injury timeout, and the way they play, those are great fucking games, man. Far better than the shit we see now. Terrible no football today. Going to be a hockey day. Enjoy your swim. Take care. Okay, you two guys, swimming Chinese. I showed you the General Chow last time. So Bobby has it. Bobby, what do you eat? Where'd you go? What are you eating for dinner tonight, Bobby? And I don't like this. You keep coming and going, and you're getting a little too big for us. I can see that. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Again, buy your fucking gold and silver. It's a steal. It's a lock, and you're going to make money, and you're going to save yourself from losing all this. So please think about it as insurance. Think about it as, if I keep this, I'm fucked. If I get this, I can't be fucked. I can't. At worst case, I break even, which we all know you're going to make money on it. It's going to go. So just keep that in mind, especially silver. Everybody, have a great weekend. I will see you tomorrow. Now, the games are like 3:00 tomorrow, so I'll probably come on at 11:30ish, because I got the problem with swim's normal time today. Swim, they close at 4:30 on Sunday, which I can never figure out why. So I always got to get there by 1:32. So we'll see about that. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Good luck tomorrow, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Again, www.teaserking.com. I do have one lot going this week if you want to get it. And that'll be it. And then we'll get on to the Super Bowl. Your free play is Cincinnati. So good luck there. And off we go. All right. Have a great day, everybody.